Grab some popcorn and stick around. We've got some garbage to talk about.
We're all here with Mouthwashing, the recap.
Yay!
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, we're gonna spoiler the game and talk about what happens. So that's on you. So, did we like the game?
I mean, in a sense of like a psychological horror game.
It was very gripping.
Yes.
And really well written. And,
engaging.
It's a very good game. But it wasn't
Enjoy
fun.
is perhaps not the word I would use.
Yeah. It's not a fun... Well, okay. When I say, like, it's not a fun game to play, it's not boring, and it's not, like, complicated, and it's not, like, frustrating
Video games
to
are
play.
the only art form where the first question people ask is it fun? When that's not necessarily what the game is going for. This game is not going for fun. It's going for tell a compelling story, have some very, really interesting themes.
Okay, so when this game takes place is not super clear. It's relatively, like, future-y, not super far in the future. We're at the point where, like, space travel is relatively easy.
Yeah, I got, like, space feudalism vibes.
Feudalism, and I get the vibe that there's, like, colonies throughout space, because we are playing as crew members to an intergalactic delivery service known as the Pony Express. The ship we are currently on is called the Tulpar, and as we will later learn in the game a little bit later, this is the final excursion that this ship will be going on. This ship is crewed by 5 members, so there is our captain Curly, our co-pilot Jimmy, our nurse Anya, our engineer Swansea, and then our intern Daisuke, who is like working under the supervision of Swansea. And right when the game opens up, you are crashing the fucking ship into what I can only assume is a meteor. And that's pretty weird. That's not something you normally do as you're driving through space. Yeah, intentionally crashing a ship. And you're like, wow.
The game even tells you, the computer says, if you turn left, you'll avoid the meteor, and then your character can only turn right. So you intentionally crash the ship.
Yeah, I wrote this down. So it comes up. So the object that's approaching us is 1.4 astronomical units away. So an astronomical unit is the distance between the Earth and the Sun. That is a long fucking way away. So there was plenty of time to steer away from this object. I want that to be known. There was plenty of fucking time.
The Sun is 8 light minutes away from us. That's very, very far. You have plenty of time to steer.
Just a spirit of not fairness, but we don't know how fast the Tulpar travels.
Yeah.
But given that we have, that the emergency alert system alerts us, we have enough time to open the locker, get the emergency key, fucking override the emergency navigation, and then steer into it, leads me to believe, we had plenty of fucking time to steer away from it.
I mean...
Well, then there's also a scene later where, like, the emergency alarm is going off, character reacts, runs in to try and like intervene, and then we hit the object. So
I mean, there's more than 11 minutes for sure, because again, 1 AU is 8 light minutes, so 1.4 would be like 11 light minutes. So even if you're traveling at the speed of light in your vehicle, you have at least 10 minutes to make a decision and to not steer into the thing.
So, oh darn, the ship has crashed into a meteor, and we're now just kind of floating in space, awaiting the inevitable. Our ship is kind of damaged beyond repair. There's like emergency foam that has deployed, and it is all over this fucking ship, and we are not moving anymore, and nobody is coming to help us. So we are stranded in outer space. What could possibly go wrong? We are then
Yeah, I mean, what could go right?
what could
What's going
yeah
right?
nothing
Shit, everything went wrong. Everything went wrong before we crashed into the fucking
yeah
asteroid.
and everything went wrong after we crashed in. So we are called to a team meeting with all the crew members except for Curly. And Jimmy has declared himself the captain of this crew now. There's no vote. This was not a diplomatic decision. Not diplomatic. This is not a democratic.
Decision. Yeah,
yeah.
He's saying he deserves to be the.
He
because
really
was the
Captain
co-pilot.
Phillip, just like I am the captain.
I am the captain now, and I on some level, there's only 4 people available, so one of the 4 of them needs to be the leader, and then Daisuke is an intern, so he's obviously out, and then Jimmy just kind of elbows his way through.
And so they then kind of decide, they're like, okay, well, what do we do? What do we do from here? They're low on supplies, they're like running out of food rations, and they decide, you know what, let's take a look at the cargo that we've been hauling through space for over a year, or like close to a year. Let's go take a look.
Yeah, we don't know what it is, but whatever it is, maybe it'll be helpful to us.
And it's not helpful, because as they open up the cargo component of this ship, it is a massive fucking warehouse size of just boxes full of mouthwash. That's the name of the game. And they're like, oh, well, this is unhelpful. We're just gonna drink this shit anyways.
Fuck it, let's get drunk.
Fuck it, let's get drunk. And so that kind of messes with our perception of reality a little bit, because I'm assuming that us as the main character, you play as Jimmy for the majority of the game, just to clarify. I'm assuming that Jimmy is also consuming like high levels of this mouthwash that's like 99% alcohol. So
See, that's interesting. I did not make that assumption. I thought Jimmy was clear-headed throughout the majority of the game, because the rest of them being
as clear-headed as you can be.
I mean, clear-headed in the sense that he's making his decisions unimpaired.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky, because the game really relies on unreliable
Ambiguity.
narrator. And ambiguity. Yeah. So you kind of never really know what reality is hard to perceive in this game, because there are
reality's all I mean, we always hold reality with an open palm, but when you're also actively experiencing things that are definitely hallucinations, it's hard to say what parts of the game are supposed to be literal. Some parts of them are obviously literal, but some of it is not.
I do think at one point you come out of the cargo bay and find Daisuke passed out on the ground. And I think Jimmy says something to the effect of, you know that shit is going to kill you, right? Which implies that Jimmy hasn't really been drinking.
Or at least he's not drinking it as much.
Or at least he's being a huge hypocrite.
Which is also entirely possible.
That's definitely
And something that I think is super interesting about this game and how it plays out is, I think, shipwrecked crew, and ultimately it does devolve into madness, but it does not get as chaotic as other types of this sort of story would go. Like, everyone is ultimately like, it's fine, we're working together, we're all trying to make the best out of the worst possible thing, and even though madness does ensue, it's just people didn't immediately like start throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah, it's not Lord of the Flies immediately. Lots of spooky shit happens, and a lot of really sad shit happens too.
I actually wanted to ask you, because you said the hallucinations are very vivid, and I wanted to get your take on what you think each of those sequences represents. Because, obviously there was the part with the IDs in the hallway, but that's like way later, right? I don't remember the earlier hallucinations as well. And what they would be foreshadowing and stuff.
Again, also too, how much of like I'm air quoting hallucinations, how much of that is just like scene dressing or a transition from one bit to another. I feel like this one is kind of just like, here's like before we unpack what's going on. But then there's others, like the one where you're like with the flashlight and the horse.
One where it's like the employee walking around and whatever. That one was clearly very anti-capitalist vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's the cartoon itself is very pro-capitalist, and so like us sitting here, we're in a horror game, so that's obviously the implication is that's not great.
Yeah.
I
this.
think
You go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think like the very first hallucination, like at the very beginning of the game, is interesting.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
it is
talk about that.
Right. It is right after you, as Jimmy, decide to, which like obviously at the beginning of the game you don't know it was Jimmy. They kind of pull a red bait and switch on you by making you think it was Curly before it's revealed that it's Jimmy. But as Jimmy, you set the ship to crash. Then you walk out of the cockpit and you go down these winding corridors that are slowly filled with watching eyes and all the posters of the Pony Express.
Right.
But I
and
think
you hear
an interesting
a baby crying.
You hear a baby crying. But I think the interesting thing about that is you see that the direct aftermath of that scene later in the game. And you find, as Curly, you find Jimmy, and he's just sitting right outside of the cockpit.
Door,
Yeah, he's not wandering the ship or anything like that. So all of that is going on in Jimmy's head as he's left the cockpit and just sat down against the wall with his head in his hands. So to me, I think that is representative of Jimmy's mindset at that point, like where he thinks he is. Basically, and again, I want to just front load this real quick. I in no way, shape, or form empathize with Jimmy on fucking anything.
I was about to say. I think if you're describing this to Jimmy, he would then come back with, "Well, see, immediately after I did it, I felt really bad. That indicates that I'm good." No, it does not.
No,
that's not what that means. That's
but that's
a very
the thing.
Self-serving feeling of badness. He's only feeling bad about how this is how people are going to splash this back on him, rightfully so.
So again, I don't even think it's that, but I'm not empathizing with Jimmy, and I will not. Like, there's some bits while I'll talk about it where like I'm just trying to like see things from his really warped and fucked up perspective. That's not empathy. That's just me trying to figure out where he's at.
To understand.
So that whole sequence, I think that is him and his fucked up mind. That's a representative of he feels like this is the only way out. Yeah. Like the maze, the eyes watching him, he's trapped. This is the only way he can get out of this situation that he has put himself in. Yeah. And I think that's even more representative of the fact that it happens immediately after you set that collision course. Yeah. Because in that act, he has really trapped himself. He has consigned himself and the rest of the crew to death so that his mistakes won't catch up to him, at least in the term of like jail time or whatever sort of punishment that there exists in this world. Yeah. I think that is what, at least that's.
But just, I think with Jimmy, something that is interesting we keep seeing with him, at one point when he's talking to Curly, he says that he likes it here because we're in control here. Yeah. Which also is like, does he even care about punitive discipline talking tos when they get back on land? Or is he just like, I'm going to keep these people here because I can control them? Because he just became the captain when really, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely afraid of losing control.
I think it's a mixture of the two. I think he does relish in, because he's the co-pilot. He's basically the first mate, second in command, whatever. Whether that be an official position or just an assumption that he makes because he's Curly's friend, I don't know.
Something to that point, though, I think this... Part of me gets the feeling that Daisuke was after Jimmy and then everyone else was before Jimmy.
I also get that
as far as... So I don't see why, like, it wouldn't... I get the feeling it's like that Curly, Anya, and Swansea work together longer, and then whatever happened with Jimmy, he joins their crew,
Jimmy got
and then they
in.
just threw Daisuke in.
Yes, I also get that.
Yeah,
I also
because he
Mm-hmm.
said it's like, I mean, they sort of imply that he had some kind of major fuck up on Earth or whatever planet he started on, and then Curly was like, you know, I know this kid. I can kind of, you know, I'd try to be like a good male older figure to him and just bring him on and like kind of put in a good word. Okay, you know, I'll help you figure this out. We can fix this. And it's like, no, you fucking can't. You're not even trying to fix this.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what I was saying, is that it's a mixture of those two things. Jimmy likes the feeling of control he has as the co-pilot. One, he helps fly the ship. He was alone in the cockpit when that, which brings me the implication that they fly in shifts, which kind of goes into the, like, Curly kind of needed Jimmy there, but that's a whole separate thing. I don't know if I believe that wholly, but it is a theory that kind of goes into the whole decision making, and I think it's worth discussing. But he liked having that control over the ship, over people's lives, over their course. But at the same time, I do believe he was afraid of returning to society and having to face what he'd done, because whether that meant incarceration, execution, whatever the fuck punitive measures would have been given to him, that would have been a loss of control over his own life. And were given implications from the conversations between him and Curly that Jimmy was not in a good fucking place before he signed up with Pony Express. He was a fuck up. He was having a rough time. He did not lead a good life. He did not make good decisions. So he already wasn't in control of his own life before he got brought onto Pony Express, and he would do literally anything, including consigning 4 other people to death, in order to not go back to that sense of helplessness and
That's
lack of
very
control.
true. Yeah. Yeah, I think I think the way Jimmy avoids taking responsibility, I mean, the game is so obviously about taking responsibility in a number of different ways. It's explicitly telling the player that it's about that. And it's, I think what's interesting is that when like taking responsibility, taking accountability, these kinds of things get thrown around on the internet a lot in a way that I find very strange. Like a lot of time, especially with like YouTubers, people will be like, oh, you know, he put out an apology and he didn't take accountability. And in the apology, it was like, I'm sorry you felt bad. And it's interesting to me because people have all these different definitions of what they want the YouTuber to do. Should they completely leave, or should they apologize sincerely and that's all? You know, like, these are all different ways somebody can take responsibility, but none of them are centering the victims, centering the needs of the aggrieved party, right? So taking responsibility means that if you created a fuck up, if I spilled milk on the ground, I'm not just getting the broom for you to clean it up. I'm also cleaning it up. Right? So taking responsibility means centering the other people's needs and trying to figure out how to meet their needs. So you've hurt them in some way. Jimmy hurts all of the people in the crew in a bunch of different ways. And instead of trying to figure out how he can center, I mean, this is leaving aside the blatant misogyny. This is leaving that entirely to one side. Just as a general character flaw, Jimmy doesn't center other people's goals ever. He's only ever acting on his own goals. So
In the
only way he's like, there's no way out of my a prison of my own making, because he's refusing to change goals.
I think that's a really good point. I think it also is interesting how all these characters relate to each other. I first just first comes to mind in this case is Daisuke, who's the exact opposite in a lot of ways. One, because there's definitely an earnestness to be part of this, to help, and just a complete lack of, what do I do? How can I help? I want to take responsibility, but I
don't know what to do.
I have no clue.
Yeah.
You know, I need to be pointed in a direction.
Kind of what talking about responsibility is that there's different levels of it, and like each of the characters kind of has a different like relation to it. So like Curly, right? He's the fucking captain. He's responsible for the not just the running of the ship, but the safety and morale of his crew. And in any organized command structure, there's, you know, a chain of command. And on the Tulpar, we don't really see it. It's such a small group of people that I don't think Jimmy was actually Curly's second in command. I think he was just the co-pilot, because it's such a small crew that really, if anyone has a problem, you can take it directly to the captain. There's not a like.
There's not even a point to taking it to someone else.
Yeah, there's no HR. There's no subdivision of authority. On like a naval ship, you have, you know, sub officers where it's like, all right, take it to your NCO, take it to your lieutenant, take it to, you know, there's levels of authority. It is Curly and only Curly. He is responsible for all of the crew. There's only fucking 4 of them. So that's not only, you know, safeguarding your crew, making sure their voices are heard, making sure they're doing their jobs well, making sure they're acclimating properly. It's also identifying problems and dealing with them. Curly wasn't doing his fucking job in the first place.
At all.
He, like, even before Anya told him what happened to her, like, Swansea, fucking problem. You need to cut your fucking attitude and unfuck yourself.
Yeah.
You need to start treating the other crews better. You need to start mentoring the kid better. You need to not be
he
fucking...
may be annoying, but don't be an asshole.
Yeah. You need to not be talking to our only medical officer that way. You need to not be talking to me that way because I'm your fucking superior officer. Like, that's kind of what, like, you said it was a very generous interpretation, but Curly was so focused on there not being conflict at all that he didn't understand, or at the very least didn't want to understand, that to be a leader, you kind of by necessity have to come into conflict with your subordinates to correct them. And this isn't even going into like, what should he have done about Jimmy? He didn't make a decision. It's not that he made the wrong decision. He didn't make one at all. Whether it had been throwing him in the cryopod, whether it would have been shoving him out the fucking airlock, it doesn't matter. Whether it would have been just sequestering him away from even just Anya, which wouldn't have been the best. Which wouldn't have been the best of the 4 options. But
he didn't even make a negative decision. Like if he had just gone up to Jimmy and went, "Yeah, you go, bro," that would have been making a decision. He was so inactive. He barely even interacted about it.
There was no acknowledgement of what happened. It was just, I've been told this happened. Don't worry, I'll fix it. And then nothing fucking happened.
Yeah.
And then
also his inaction, I feel like was rewarded. Everyone says, what a good captain. Well, if you don't make any waves, if you don't get in anyone's way, that's how people like you.
Yeah.
People are allowed to get complacent. They're allowed to do whatever they want to do. So of course they like you as a leader because you never correct them. You never come into conflict with them. They get to do whatever they want to do because you're not willing to confront them so that they do better.
And in fact, the people who are being victimized get victimized, and then it's on them to self-advocate. And if it's hard for them to self-advocate over and above one of their coworkers who's getting to do whatever the hell they want, then guess who wins? The asshole.
Yeah. There's a staggering amount of like unprofessionalism going on like on the Tulpar.
They got a real family vibe.
Yeah.
Yes. Everything, ultimately every single thing every single thing that happened on the Tulpar, whether you want to argue it was Curly's quote-unquote fault or not, it was still his responsibility, and he failed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I kind of have a question for the crew, kind of just in regards to Curly. So, we've played the game now, we know what happens. So, after he's horribly mangled and horribly disfigured, we are now left with a limbless and skinless Curly. And there's like kind of some discussion like within the mouthwashing community about like, is this punishment deserved? And I think we can all agree that obviously Curly like was grossly negligent in regards to his duties as a leader. Personally speaking, I don't think that the punishment that he's currently facing is like, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody personally.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but ultimately it is kind of perfect karmic justice. He wouldn't do anything,
and
while
now you can't do anything.
Can't do it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is that even Curly's condition is symbolic, because so much of this game is symbolic, that he had so much time to do something, and now at this pivotal moment where Curly probably is sitting there thinking about all of the things that he should have done, all the things that he could have done, maybe now he has the motivation to actually do something he is physically incapable of. Now that he wants to take responsibility, he can't.
From the perspective of it being a piece of art, I think it makes a lot of sense because his psychological inaction becomes physical inaction, and that works thematically. But I, both in life and in my assessment of this game, I refuse to play with concepts of deserved punishment in general. So I don't, that's just an illegitimate concept to me. So he's, I think it's very interesting and artistically very powerful that he's now powerless in this way. But I don't think deserving. Like you said, I wouldn't want this on anybody for any reason. I don't believe in that. So I think in a way it actually diminishes the art itself, and it diminishes us as people interpreting the art when we start getting distracted by whether or not he deserves X, Y, or Z, instead of what does this tell us about how people behave? What does this tell us about how people interact and like the consequences of our actions, rather than whether or not they're worth it or something, right? It's not like I'm going to go work on a ship and then find myself in a situation that I go like, well, I guess it's time to start hacking off limbs and ripping off skin. Like, I'm never going to be in that situation, so it doesn't aid me to think about the art in that way.
I think you raise an interesting point about it, just the consequences of your actions or the consequences of your inaction, because the way Curly was injured is, Jim Bob, dickhead, cock breath. He sets the ship to be crashed. Curly runs up to him. What the fuck did you do? This, that, and the other. Curly, too late, decides to do something and goes to try to steer the ship back on course too late. And that is when he gets it. It is because he took too long to make a decision, because he took too long to try to take responsibility. He tried to take the reins too late, and because of that, he ended up in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
I think while we were playing, we did talk about this for a bit, about like waiting to tell the crew versus telling the crew. In this case, he told them later that, it's the kind of news that we're all fired. That's not news that you're ever going to be like, this was the great time to tell me. But he did have that time to just sort of sit on it, think about it, and he's like, okay, I have to tell everybody. I can't keep this from you.
So he's fully capable of recognizing like when to intervene and when to say something. Like he's not stupid. He's not like, oh, I didn't know. Like Curly knows. Curly has a moral compass, and he understands like, I cannot continue with this voyage in good faith knowing the information from management that we're all like fired after this. I have to tell you guys, even though like management said to not tell you until we made our delivery, I'm going to tell you right now because it's wrong for me to say nothing. And with that in mind, the other shit he does pisses me the fuck off.
Can I just jump right in real quick and just say, I actually identify with Curly in some ways, because I feel like a lot of times I feel very sedentary, inactive. It's a habit rather than a I thought for a long time I called myself lazy, and laziness is just a description. But really, like, lazy isn't an intrinsic trait about me. It's just that I have built up the habit of inaction in a way that I feel guilty about. And I think probably Curly feels some guilt about it too, but feeling guilt about something is not the same thing as changing your behavior. Feeling guilt is supposed to prompt you to change your behavior. And when he gets a surprise birthday party, that's when he feels guilty about not telling them. And then
that's a good point.
If I could jump in right there, I was gonna bring up something similar, that he took time. I don't think, and maybe I'm being too generous to Curly here, I don't think he would have kept it from him for the rest of the journey.
Right.
But I think it very much was a not necessarily a they deserve to know, and more of a I couldn't live with myself keeping this from me.
Yeah, keeping this longer.
Yeah.
Now that you've thrown me a party.
It was a guilt. I don't even know if it was. I think the party was like a spurring
I feel like the
factor.
party's like the proximate thing that like prompted that feeling. But
well, he
not
does
like
say
the end all be all.
before like the party happens, like he is going to tell everybody the news. Like he says to himself, he's like, I have to tell them, and then he doesn't. There is a delay between like when he tells them, but because the party's happened, and he's like, I think Jimmy clocks him. He's like, hey, what's wrong?
This is obviously not exactly the same thing, but like when I was in high school, I started going through some mental health struggles that I started experiencing hallucinations, and I did not tell my parents about it for like years. Like I didn't tell them that I was experiencing hallucinations, because I thought initially that they would go away because we changed back my medicine, and then that didn't happen. And then it was like a week turned into a month, turned into a year, and then it was like, I'm now keeping this a secret. Now this is a secret, right? And so like, it's not that I went into that as intending to keep it a secret. It was like, it started as inaction and turned into a secret. So I could totally see Curly being like, I'm not gonna, I'm still thinking about this because it doesn't really help them to know this earlier. And then little by little, that, if nothing had happened, I could see him just inactively not telling them until they got there. And then he's like, well, I wanted to tell you guys, but it never seemed like the right time. And it's right time. There doesn't need to be a right time.
Yeah. It's something that I think I've said this somewhere else, is that I will not do things fully intending to do them. Like I'll have, just example, like a dish in the sink, and I'll walk past it and I'll be like, oh, I need to do that, and then it just won't happen. It's not that I go, I'm not gonna do that. It's not
right. You're not making a decision. You're also not making a non-decision. It's just
precisely. It just doesn't happen because, I don't know, maybe the status quo is just easier. And eventually I force myself to like, okay, I need to fucking do this. But Curly doesn't reach that point until prompted. Like, he's like, I need to tell them, then something comes up and he's like, all right, I need to take care of this, and then I think
the reason why is because, like, generally speaking, we have like, in our brains, we have a bunch of different amorphous goals that we're trying to achieve, and then we have our emotional state that we're currently in, and we interface the two of those, and that helps our brain generate ideas of what we can do. So I'm like, okay, right now I want to feel good. I want to feel like a smart guy. So what are some options around? Well, I'm feeling pretty inquisitive, so I'm gonna go look up YouTube videos. The idea to look up YouTube videos only came about because of my emotional state and the goals I have. Curly's goals never leave his ego. He's just trying to maintain consistency with his past posturing. He wants to look like a good captain. He wants to maintain quote-unquote peace. And that just means not interfering when things are happening quietly. If they're happening loud, he interferes.
Yeah.
But if they happen quietly, he doesn't interfere. And those goals are never really shift. Until he's already paralyzed and no longer can do anything, then we can't even tell what his goals are. But, while he's captain, he only tells them when it becomes relevant for him to tell them.
Yeah.
But until then, it's just something that's sitting in the back of his mind, and it's knowledge that he has, but it doesn't relate to the goals he has.
I think there is and I don't necessarily think I'm disagreeing when I say this. But when you say ego, I think there is an aspect. I don't mean ego
in like a bloated way. I just mean like his sense of self.
Okay, I can see that. A lot of what Curly does, or what he doesn't do rather, is I get this sense of like his mindset being, okay, well, if we just get through this, things will be okay.
Exactly.
When we reach our like, I have to keep things on the level, even though they're not on the level. Things are not okay. Bad shit is happening. People are suffering. Yeah. But if we just get to our destination, if we just get there without something really big happening, even though something really big has happened again, then we can deal with it all.
I mean, what he's saying is he doesn't want to take responsibility. He is powerless to do so. So he's hoping that we can get to a spaceport so someone else can do the work of sorting out this problem. So his job as captain is to keep all the players around so that they can get to someone who will do something, which is not his job. That's not his job as captain.
No. Yeah, as I previously said, his job is to handle
to actually resolve these problems.
Yeah.
And then I'll just keep using Daisuke as our little transition in this case because, again, I love your heart's so in the right place, like when it comes to getting Anya out of the thing. He's like, something's happening, we have to do something. And just the lack of information as opposed to Curly, who very much has all the information. Everyone has ultimately told him everything he could possibly know, and he's not even attempting, making a mistake.
Whereas Curly has, every obligation to take responsibility and doesn't. Daisuke at least strikes me, I may be wrong, as someone who wants responsibility, who wants to try to take care of stuff, who wants to do things, but one, because he's an intern, isn't trusted to, and two, doesn't really know how. He's not given information. He's not given the tools to do stuff.
And he also doesn't really have the know-how to figure it out himself.
Precisely. So you see it in him trying to, deal with the foam systems at the very beginning of the game. He fucks up, gets covered in foam. You see it when, like, the kid has ideas. He's like, oh, well, there's the vent that leads to the med bay, but we shouldn't go in there because it's fucking dangerous. And then, of course, Jimmy cajoles him to do it anyway. Daisuke, like, obviously not to rank the crew members on a scale of victimhood, But Daisuke is a kid who, I say he's like 19, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he doesn't super know what's going on. I don't think Daisuke's stupid. I think he's naive.
Yeah, like he says his mom got him this job, so
Yeah,
he's
got
not at all familiar with this
Yeah.
this realm of work.
So
yeah, I was going to say, of the 4 types of misogyny that I think the 4 male crew members display, the one I was going to label Daisuke as is naive.
Yeah, he, what was I going to say? He, as opposed to Curly, who is the highest rung on the ladder and is not willing to take action on anything that he needs to, Daisuke is the lowest rung on the ladder, who wants to do stuff, wants to take some responsibility, but doesn't really have, I'm not going to say the ability because that's, kind of infantilizing, but he doesn't have all of the information he would need in order to do so. He doesn't have the technical knowledge. He doesn't have the knowledge of the interpersonal dynamics. He's the newest person there. He doesn't have any of the tools that someone like Curly probably does have in order to do shit.
I think his naivete is actually even deeper than that, because he's also naive about the real dynamics going on. And like,
Yes.
it's not like every 19-year-old needs to be equipped to understand all that shit. As soon as they turn 18, everybody should be like an expert on whatever. But like, his naivete means that he doesn't even realize the problems that need to be resolved, right? Like, if he knew that Jimmy was victimizing Anya, I don't know that he would allow that. I don't know that he would do anything useful about it, because we don't live in the world where he did anything. But like, what I would hope that he would have a reaction to it more than Curly, more than Swansea, to whatever knowledge Swansea has. Because he's well-meaning. He's obviously well-meaning. And like you said, he wants to do stuff. He wants responsibility. He wants people to take him seriously. But he's truly naive in so many different ways that he's unable to actively even participate in the protection of the victims of crimes.
Swansea says unprofessional things to Anya and to Daisuke, and sort of to Jimmy and Curly. So I think with that naivete, it is possible for Daisuke to be like, that's just how Swansea talks to people,
Yeah, he's
even though
just
there
like
is
that.
very clearly a difference between how he's treating him versus Anya.
And also, that's just how he treats people is an excuse that people give when we're in like you can use that excuse a little bit when you're in like a public situation, right? If you're out at a restaurant and you have a very rude friend and the waiter's like, "Wow, I'm very put off by that," you can be like, "Well, sorry, he's just a rude dude.
He's just like that.
He's just like that, And on some level, the waiter can be like, "Well, I don't have to interact with you ever again. Goodbye." You can't do that on a fucking spaceship.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like, if he's gonna be an asshole again. Sorry to keep going back to Curly, but like, he's being an asshole to Daisuke, and Daisuke is like, "Well, I'm 19. I'm the new guy. He's been around. Like I shouldn't complain." He's naive about the true status of the workplace environment. He needs to be respected as an equal member of the team.
I think Daisuke says something in the game along the lines of like, he's just busting my chops or something like that.
Right.
Which again, I'm not gonna dip into Swansea yet, but as like someone, and I'm not saying this is a good workplace dynamic, it's not okay and it needs to change, but as someone who has worked and who's currently in a very like male-dominated field, has worked in with like crotchety old dudes and like other jobs I've worked, that is very much like a thing. You give the new guy shit.
You haze them.
You haze them. And while again,
within some reason.
Yeah.
within some reason. Again, that's not okay, but it is a thing. So that might be where Daisuke is at. Like, he's just razzing me. I'm the new guy.
But
this, that.
part
and
of
the other.
that is also recognizing being the if you're going to do any kind of hazing, of any kind, it's imperative that you be responsible for your actions and recognize when you've taken it too far, right? Like, you see all these fucking Reddit stories. It's like, I just saw a Reddit story where it was like, I have 4 employees and 3 of them pranked the new one, and she was so anxious about the prank that she threw up, and we haven't seen her in weeks. And I'm like, see, this is not a prank anymore. Now you're just torturing people.
Yeah.
And like, that's like, you're taking hazing in like the worst possible direction, where it's not about having fun. Like, at the end of a prank, the person who felt foolish should also be able to laugh, hopefully. Right? We should all be like, ha ha ha, that was fun, now we can move on with our lives. Instead of, you traumatized me, and you're all laughing at how much pain I'm in.
Yeah, like, there's a difference between, the classic, the whole thing in the fire service, hazing the probie.
You got your shirt hung up from the rafters one time.
I mean, that's just a thing we do when you leave shit when you're not supposed to.
See,
we do it to fucking everybody. But
and like, you do it to fucking everybody.
Yeah.
You're out in public. You can move to another fire station if you want.
Yeah.
Like, you have options. The people are gauging your reaction.
Yeah, it's the difference between, hey, rookie, go get the hose stretcher. There's no such thing as a hose stretcher. Ah, man, we got you. That's funny, right? Or like, hey, go get a Ziploc bag and collect exhaust samples.
God.
So there's that versus, I read a story about a guy, like a crew in, I think, Dallas, who all got suspended because they were putting like dead fish in the probie's bag.
Oh my
like
God.
Shit, like
that's harassment.
That's just harassment. That's just psychological torture.
Yeah, because like, if all you have to do, genuinely, it's like this basic shit that we were told in school. Maybe kids aren't being told this in school anymore, now that I think about it. But like, have you tried imagining yourself in their shoes? Like, if you had your bag and you opened it and some asshole put a dead fish in there, it would smell like fucking shit. And then you'd have to clean it. And you're a fucking fireman, so you don't have time. Right? Like, it was this basic shit. I don't know. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, no. But basically, that's what you're saying.
Swansea's job, in addition to being the engineer on the ship, is also his part of making peace with everybody else needs to be understanding the limits of everybody, and it needs to be Daisuke's. Daisuke needs to be treated better. Everybody needs to.
I think something interesting too is like, no one made it out of Mouthwashing. Unscathed or otherwise, but I think it's interesting to wonder about, like, if this had been a normal thing. He gets to work under Swansea for a while, he works with all these people, they had like a year left on the ship, and then they would have done the next round. And if Daisuke had stuck with it and moved up the ranks, I don't know what kind of person he would have become, because the examples he has are mostly Swansea, and that's how you treat people when you've got the experience to back it up, or you get in good like Curly. And then I hesitate to wonder what he would have learned from Jimmy. And I think it's just interesting that they included a character who is so pure because of the inexperience.
I think it's interesting. Another thing about Daisuke, and this goes to Bob, this goes back to what something Bob said, which was that Daisuke wasn't aware of fucking anything. Because even at the beginning, I mean, Swansea doesn't like fucking anybody, but he's like openly hostile to Jimmy, does not fucking like him. Like, we talked about it a bit before we started recording, but like, is also mean to Anya, but also like will entrust some stuff to her. I don't know if he has any faith in her as a medical professional, considering some of the comments he makes, but at the very least there's some sort of, I'm not gonna call it respect, but like some weird fucking rapport. I don't know how else to to put it. He's just openly hostile to Jimmy. Whereas Daisuke seems to have a good opinion of everybody on the ship. He respects Curly as a captain. I don't know if I'd say he likes Jimmy, but at the very least looks to him as someone who's more experienced than he is. Comes to him instead of Swansea when Anya locks herself in the medbay. Obviously...
Isn't Swansea drunk off his ass?
Oh, yeah. Swansea's drunk off his ass.
Well, Daisuke, fully goes along with Jimmy's plan to be like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get him drunk as fuck. A man who, well, at that point, he's kind of thrown sobriety out the window. But, we're gonna get him drunk as fuck, so he passes out, gives us the key to, oh, fuck, what room is that they're trying to get into?
I mean, I think even before he agrees to Jimmy's plan about Swansea, he goes to the door, he hears some rather perturbing shit from Anya's side of the door, and then he believes Jimmy on what to do next. He follows Jimmy's orders instead of using his own, his own sort of this is why I would call this a naive form of misogyny, because I think his naivete is also in the form of he just naturally looks to men. He's just looking to men for advice. He could go to Anya for anything, and he just follows around. Swansea, who does not want him around.
Yeah, there's this.
I mean, he could just. What if he followed Anya around and learned some medical shit? That'd be useful.
Yeah, there's a theme kind of throughout the game. It's kind of persistent throughout the game, but just this concept of a woman saying something's happening or that something happened and nothing being done, or she's not taken seriously, or she's not believed. And so in this instance, Daisuke's fully hearing hey, something's not right in the medbay, something bad is happening. And Jimmy comes in, he intervenes, and Daisuke takes his side of the situation.
Yeah, see, this I would actually slightly disagree with your assessment, only in the sense that I don't think he's listening. This is what I mean when I say that I feel like there was a long period of time where I just did not listen to women. I did not actually hear when women were speaking. And I don't know if it was something that I learned from being an American or just being a man or what. I don't know where but at some point during my 20s, I started to actually listening to what women were saying. And I think there are a lot of men who genuinely don't realize they're not listening to women. And that sounds crazy, but I was one of them. So, to me, it's he's standing here, hearing Anya on one side of the door and listening to Jimmy. You see what I mean? He's hearing the sounds of Anya's voice and the words she's saying in the same way that you read a book. When you read a book, you don't take what the book is saying as though it is happening. You take what the book is saying as though this is just some information. And then you turn to a person and you can consult with them. So he's not listening to her. He's just hearing her.
I hate to disagree with you on y'all's entire interpretation of at least Daisuke on that scene, because at the very least in my mind, coming at it from my perspective, we get to that door, and just from what Anya is saying, and I'm assuming the tone of her voice, we don't have voice acting. Right. This is a person in a severe state of crisis. Something is fucking wrong there. We need to get inside. We need to figure out what's happening. Something is wrong with Anya. Something's happening to her. Something is going wrong, and we don't know what.
So he brought Jimmy thinking the door was stuck. He comes to Jimmy because he thinks Anya was Anya silent or either said that she was stuck, or either that or was silent. And either way, Daisuke at that point, instead of asking Anya why she's staying in there or trying to work with her, he immediately turns to Jimmy because he's another active participant. Anya is a fully capable adult. So,
I
like,
think
he
it
could.
is important.
I feel like he could problem solve with Anya, but instead of doing that, he goes and gets Jimmy.
I think, yeah.
Although, to be fair, Jimmy is claiming to be captain now.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, so
I think Daisuke is a guy who, like, he's new, he's knuckling to authority. He immediately goes, oh fuck, something is wrong, the door won't open.
Let me go find who's in
to
charge.
the commander and goes,
I guess
hey,
my
something.
problem with that is that Daisuke should have enough insight into Anya, or if he was listening to Anya, he would have enough insight into Anya to know that something is wrong with her before she locks the door.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Maybe I'm putting too much on him.
I have, like, just from, like, my own experience with, again, and this is an emergency response, but probies, like, you get into, you get that rush of adrenaline, you're not thinking right, you go, okay, I'm going to go to the nearest authority figure. And I guess that could be Anya. You could be correct. Like, Anya is higher up in the hierarchy than he is. So she is technically an authority figure to him, so he could go to her, but she's inside the locked room. The room is locked. That's a problem. Who's outside the room? Jimmy is, and Jimmy is acting captain. I'll go to Jimmy.
Swansea's drunk as hell.
And Swansea's drunk off his ass.
Something else too, though, just in that moment, I think two things. I think it's interesting how on some level they have different actual experience, different levels of authority. But Daisuke has written Anya off. You're victim. Your problem. What you're saying does not matter right now. And also, Anya does not really respond to Daisuke. She also pretty much just responds to Jimmy. When she could have just said, Daisuke, don't worry about it. I'm fine. So in some way, they have both in that moment for whatever reason. Yes.
Which is unfortunate because, like, you don't want to, it's unfortunate because you can't just play, we don't want to place blame on Anya there. She's in a very tender emotional place, and that's not, it's hard to reach out to people, especially, like, this naive kid.
Yeah. Especially, too, one thing with that, in terms of this, like, Anya had an opportunity to, like, reach out for help with Daisuke. At this point, she has told 2 different people on the crew what happened, and nothing came out of it. So at this point, when she's, trigger warning, when she's deeply suicidal, she's like, what's the fucking point in telling Daisuke, like, what happened? Like, this is it. She is at the point where she is like, I'm gonna fucking do it. And then Jimmy is confronting her about it, and she's like, well, here's my last chance to say something.
This is what leads me to believe that Jimmy noticed the door was stuck, and not Jimmy, that Daisuke noticed the door was stuck and then immediately went to Jimmy. Bobby, you were talking about, like, why couldn't he have problem solved with Anya? When he brings Jimmy back, he tries to. He goes, okay, is there a wrench in there? Is there something that you can use to, like, loosen the door? This, that, and the other. She doesn't respond, and then Jimmy goes, is the door stuck? Like, the idea that the door isn't stuck has not occurred to Daisuke. And Daisuke, again, I may be giving him too much fucking credit here, would know that there's nothing in the fucking medical room that can unstick the door. Again, I may be being a bit too generous.
I feel almost the exact opposite way, and I'm worried that I'm being not generous enough. So I feel like we've covered the bases on that.
I feel like it's safe to say Daisuke knows
almost nothing.
He knows how to get to the kitchen. He knows how to keep some sweetener for himself.
He knows how to play baseball.
We've all forgotten more things than Daisuke knows.
Yeah.
I think that's something Swansea says, I've forgotten more than you'll ever know.
Yeah. And the thing too about Daisuke is, like, he doesn't have, like, a malicious bone in his body. Like, even when Swansea's, like, reading him for filth, and he's like, you are the dumbest fucking person I have ever met, and he, like, passes out, and Daisuke's still like, did we kill him? Is he okay? Like, he's just so empathetic. It hurts. It's so sad.
in a way that's Daisuke's flaw.
Yeah.
That he doesn't have, and I'm gonna use some, very macho language. He doesn't have the balls to stand up. He doesn't have the wherewithal to recognize, hey, this isn't okay, I should do something about that.
Yeah.
He prefers to see the best in any given situation, and this unfortunately is a situation where that will do nothing but bite you in the ass.
Yeah, I was actually going to disagree. I don't think he's empathetic. Because empathy also involves, like, being able to recognize other people in pain.
Yeah.
And he's looking at everybody with these rose-colored glasses to the point where he's not recognizing when Jimmy's being bad to Swansea right in front of him, making him be bad. I mean, like, he's just sort of naive about it.
Even when, like, the very first time I played this game, like, when I was going into it blind, that immediately, like, that is the sound of a person who's about to commit suicide. That is a person who is in deep, deep mental crisis, who is not, and this is going to sound bad, but is not in a place to be making their own decisions. And that's again coming from, like, a thing of, like, hey, if you're a danger to yourself or others, like, you don't have like the ability to refuse medical care and that sort of shit, because you're actively trying to kill yourself. Like, the whole like not listening to, like, Anya and them, yes, but at the same time, I them, at least on Daisuke's bit, wanting to get in there to stop her from doing whatever it is she's
reasonable.
Doing, is reasonable. I think Jimmy thinks that she's gonna try to kill Curly.
Yeah, like, this dumb.
He doesn't give a shit whether she kills herself.
And he doesn't. Spoiler: he doesn't give a fuck that she kills herself.
I think Daisuke in his mind is like, something bad is happening, and I think
he
need to intervene.
misspoke. He thought she was gonna kill Curly.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure Jimmy thought... I don't think Jimmy really cared what was going to happen. The fact that they were locked behind a door means he doesn't have control over that situation. So regardless of whether she kills herself or Curly or both of them or neither, he's not happy.
Yeah, and
That's very valid too.
Jimmy is playing into this. I wouldn't put it past Anya to do something extreme right now. You and I, we're the only ones who can fix this.
Yeah.
And Daisuke, who's like I said, the adrenaline hits you. You're just looking to a person who has more authority, trusting that they know what's going on more than you do. That's where Daisuke is at right now, in my mind.
I think that's super fair.
So, in the ladder of responsibility, for Swansea, we've got Jimmy, dude at the top, who has all of the responsibility over everybody, doesn't do shit. Daisuke at the bottom, who wants to take responsibility, wants to help, wants to do stuff, but doesn't have the ability or the knowledge to. And then you have Swansea, kind of middling, who has his job, has his expertise, and everything outside of that, he goes, not my circus, not my monkeys, not my fucking problem. He wants to be left alone. He doesn't want to mentor Daisuke. I have a whole thing about his relationship with Daisuke. We learn he does like Daisuke in a way. I think I said this before we started recording, that, and I said it earlier, I think the way Swansea treats Daisuke is less of a hazing thing, and I think it's more of a... At first, I think he did just not like Daisuke, but I think as it went on and he slowly started to warm up to Daisuke internally, I think that he kind of looked at himself and was like, I'm an old, fat, recovering alcoholic. I have been doing this for 20 years. I don't have any other skill set. I don't want this kid to be doing the same fucking thing I am in 20 years. So I'm
lucky for him, this is the last voyage, so
Yeah.
he'll never do it again.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to push him off and like kind of run him off so that he doesn't end up in this. Whatever he does after this, it's going to be better than this.
Is there, with his hazing, do you feel like there's also, I got more of the vibe of like, you know, you've been coddled all your life. Well, you're not going to be coddled by me. I'm going to make a man out of
I
you before we're
100%
done.
also get that, like, the kid needs to be toughened up. You need to become a man. Like, you need to get your shit together. The tough love sort of thing. I think we also see that in that Swansea is, you know, standing guard over the one remaining cryopod, saving it for Daisuke. Because we're going to talk about all Swansea's flaws in a second, and there's a fuck ton of them. I think Swansea, you know, we can talk about all he didn't do for Anya, and you know, it's despicable. But ultimately, I think, at least in his view, out of all of the crew, I don't necessarily disagree with this, out of all of the crew, if any of them were going to get the fuck out of this and have even a remote shot at living a normal, fulfilling life, it's the kid. It's Daisuke.
Yeah.
And I think, again, Swansea didn't do anything. At least not until it was far too late. Big theme in this game. I think there's a lot of... I think there's a little bit... I keep coming back to the fact Swansea keeps the axe. He always has it in his fucking hand. At least until he gives it to Jimmy, and I don't remember when that is. It's when Jimmy goes to get the isoprope, or when Jimmy goes to get the extra painkillers from the extra medical. I think, in a way, that's Swansea. He's not going to do anything about what already happened. He's not active enough for that. But I think there's a bit of that's if something happens again, I'm ready. Which is not the right way to handle it. Something already happened. You need to take care of it now.
I'm not even sure he's really concerned about what happens. I think it's like Jimmy wants to feel powerful by psychologically controlling people, controlling where they can move and how they can move. But Swansea wants to feel powerful by his ability to exert force into the world, right? So, like, if he's got the axe, even if he's not planning on using it at all, it still feels good that he could, right? He's happy to be sitting there in front of the room so that if anybody comes up to him, he can be big tough guy.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. He might not do anything, but he could.
Yeah,
if the
and
opportunity
he just
arose,
wants to feel
he
tough.
could. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like that wanting to feel tough. It's like there's this I you know, sometimes I feel like you know, this is a weird thing to be talking about my marriage, but I'm going to talk about my marriage with my wife here. Sometimes when I'm like in my feelings and I'm not sure what I should do when something goes wrong, I get confused between two different things: being a good husband and feeling like a good husband. And by that I mean, like, my feelings are something bad happened to my wife. I feel bad. And instead of doing something, I'm just sort of posturing about how bad I feel. And, like, there are real things I could be doing, specifically the things she's asking me to do. And instead I just feel bad and get stuck in my feelings, right? So then instead, I feel like Swansea sometimes is doing the same thing. He wants to feel like a big, strong guy. But he's not doing the stuff that a big, strong, helpful guy would do. He just wants to feel like a big, strong guy.
Exactly.
You know, everyone's relationship to power is, like, really clear and evident, and how, like, even though we're all shipwrecked, there is no reason for any of us to be anything other than 4 people trying to survive and
Right.
take care of our fallen person.
Yeah.
But we're still listening to Jimmy because he said he's in charge. We're still, I'm holding the axe, so
why
I can
are we obsessed
maybe
with the
do
power
something.
structure here? There's 4 of us.
Yeah, we have. Jimmy's fucking useless, but we have our medical officer. We have a wounded person. She can do that. She's been doing that. We'll talk about that when we get to Anya. We have our engineer. He can start, maybe not repairing the ship. Things fucked beyond all recognition, but at least trying to see what's up, repairing the cryopods, all of that. We have a young, strong, able-bodied kid who's willing to learn. They even said they had him, keeping track of supplies. They were doing stuff that would be necessary for their survival, but I'm not even going to say they were all obsessed. Jimmy and I'm going to say to a lesser extent, Swansea were obsessed with the power dynamics, which is a very, stereotypical male thing.
I think, especially the way that they posture to each other is very interesting because it does lead to this final showdown. And it's just interesting when they decide to flex their stuff. Jimmy walks in and he sees Anya and Swansea talking. And then Swansea also just leaves. But why? You're the big tough guy. You could just, let's hash this out right here, now.
Also too, Swansea in that situation has the axe on him. He is the one in power in this, little snapshot. And there was no, and I'm sure Anya probably said something in that conversation that they had about this happened, but don't say anything. Don't confront him about it. I'm sure something like that must have happened because that's what you fucking do when you're in that situation. You're but don't tell him that I told you. And so, of course, Swansea wasn't just right then and there going to be hey, I heard you did something really fucked up. I'm sure he wasn't going to do that in Anya's presence. But there were multiple times after that he was alone with Jimmy where he could have been hey, I fucking know what you did. You better watch your fucking back. That could have happened at some point and it never did. Even when Swansea is confronting Jimmy about things that happened, it's not what happened to Anya that really started the train in that instance. It's what happens to Daisuke. It's Daisuke being unfortunately he has to be mercy killed because his injuries are just so catastrophic that there's nothing they can do. It's that triggers his response and being I need to fucking kill Jimmy. It's not this information that he's been sitting on for days at this point about what he did to Anya.
Yeah, it's really interesting too that Jimmy turns on what's his name on Swansea and it's you monster.
Yeah.
How could you? And it's just I don't know. That's just so fucking. It's so fucking. Just really
hot meat
blew
kettle.
my mind when I first saw
I'm
that.
the fucking nerve of this man.
Nerve
that he's the one who
the
got
audacity
Daisuke
to be you monster, you motherfucker, don't piss me off.
And I can see why Swansea would get mad at that point, but it's bud, you should have gotten mad.
Yeah, you had. We've been mad. We've been mad, Swansea.
This is kind of inconsequential, but it does kind of strike me that Swansea and Jimmy's posturing are two very different kinds of insufferable dudes posturing.
Yeah, it's a dick measuring contest at certain points.
Yeah, so Jimmy is the I'm so fucking smart type of posturing, and Swansea's is the I'm so fucking big and tough type of posturing.
Yeah, that's these two, and that's why that was the type of I would say his form of misogyny, and this is that big tough masculine man,
machismo
machismo type. Now, is he he's not the most machismo-iest guy I've ever seen. Or he's he's more realistically written than that. But that is the vibe.
Yes.
That's coming from there.
Yes.
That I'm getting.
What do we think of the monologue, like the final monologue that Swansea gives? One of the best written things in this game. It is fucking amazing.
To me, it's the words of a man who has been a fuck up. Because okay. There's like a little bit of a parallel between Jimmy and Swansea. Because Swansea was a fuck up for a good portion of his life. He was, a blazing alcoholic, presumably, like,
Not
lost
a good
his
dad.
marriage, his kids, not a good dad, not a good husband, fucked his shit up, and then had this moment where he reached a realization that he was fucking his shit up and turned his life around. Got sober, got his wife back, got his kids back, got a stable job, one day at a time, doing what he was supposed to do. And that, to me, is they're fucking looking at each other here. And to me, this is very reminiscent to me of old man sitting in his rocking chair, looking at a young man who is making not the same mistakes, but the type of mistakes that he made when he was young. And except usually in that situation, it's, hey, you can pull yourself out of this. I did. Now it's too fucking late. You fucked up,
And now
you don't even realize.
Taking inventory.
Whereas Jimmy never has that moment. He never has that crashing realization of, this is how I'm fucking up. Everything that I've done up to this point has been screwing over everyone in my life, and I need to unfuck it. Partially because
I don't think he really knows. Like, he just keeps running.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Running,
That's what I was about to say. Partially because, one, there is no unfucking this situation. The situation is permanently fucked. They're all going to die here. Two of them already have. But two, Jimmy, he even says it. You don't even fucking realize it. Selfish piece of shit. You don't even realize it. Jimmy doesn't even understand that he's fucked up. You cowardly, selfish motherfucker. You can't even see it. And obviously, Swansea fucked up. Didn't live up to his, machismo. Didn't handle things the way a big, strong macho man would handle things, like you said. But at the end, he lays it all out. This is how I fucked up my life. This is how I turned it all around. But at the end of it, it didn't really fucking matter.
Because
none of
I
it really
still am
feels
here.
as... Because I'm still fucking here. None of it really feels as good as you thought it would. And Jimmy, again, just dismisses it. I can fix this, and shoots him in the head.
It's funny. Not only that, I feel like that's sort of the macho guy response to I'm about to get killed is like, I look back on my life and I say, me pushing all my feelings down was actually worth it in the end, because none of it was worth it. All of it was not as good as I would have thought. Is like, it just like, I mean, it's not exactly what Swansea's saying, but it's like, they're each coming at this in a bunch of different ways, and I feel like Swansea's got this tough guy persona he has to carry all the way to the end. And he's still right. He is definitely right about Jimmy, because, like, he's looking at Jimmy and going, like, dude, you really still don't get it. You really fucking don't get it at all. Like, you're not even where I am, where I'm, like, resigned to my fate.
Yeah.
You're fucking stupid.
I just want to say, throughout this whole, like, really serious conversation about Swansea, I've had a sticker of him shaking ass sitting next to me.
Oh, wow.
I'll take a photo and send it to you guys, and we can put it on screen. But yeah,
Is it safe for work?
Yeah, it's definitely safe for work. It's not like
Okay.
I mean, Swan, no one's ever naked.
He's not naked in this.
Swansea's never shaken ass.
It's just him with
He
a.
does too, shake
Oh, yeah, he
ass.
does. Yeah, when he's dancing.
Oh, right, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah. So this is
stand
lore
corrected.
accurate. This is the lore accurate
Yeah.
sticker. If I can remember the artist who made this, I'll also put their Instagram up here.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
I was gonna say, like, I don't know that this is Persona. I think this is just Swansea.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I think that this is legitimately him leveling with Jimmy. Ladder of responsibility. Anya. So, you've got Curly. Should be taking all the responsibility, fucking doesn't. Daisuke. Wants to take responsibility, but can't. Swansea. Has expertise, could take responsibility, but doesn't want to deal with anything outside of his wheelhouse and what he really cares about, which is Daisuke. And then, of course, Jimmy. We'll end with Jimmy.
yeah.
Anya is the only person on the fucking ship who's actually taking responsibility. Fuck. Holy shit. This woman. We've talked. You know what, Karina, you do your thing. I need to get on my fucking thoughts because I'm pissed right now.
So I'm gonna start this by
Thinking
saying,
about women making
Yeah.
me mad.
Thinking about
shaking
women
his
in medical fields makes me
makes
angry.
me so pissed.
That's a joke. That's absolutely a joke.
That is a joke.
Yeah,
That is-
Andrew
definitely
kind of
think
friends hates women in male-dominated fields. Everybody.
You know what? It's although very progressive of you to take her last name. That's very progressive. Of
Yeah.
you.
This is a joke, by the way, just to clarify. Andrew loves and respects women. Okay, so
I do.
So I relate to Anya a lot, for a variety of reasons. Some of them I will not get into, but I am very protective over this character. I love her. I so fucking wish that things could have been different for her. One thing that I notice throughout the game, like at any point really, is just Anya not being taken seriously emotionally or professionally or physically. A lot of Jimmy's interactions with her is just him speaking down to her and just being like, you're being hysterical.
You're stupid, I'll do this
You're
myself."
stupid, I'll do this for you. One of them, there's a point, and the first time Andrew and I played this, we spent a lot of time discussing this, but there's a conversation that they have where Jimmy looks at Curly and he says, his bandages look wet. And something that Andrew and I talked about was there's a couple reasons why that could be the case. It's either that like he's like bleeding through his bandages, and when you suffer 3rd and 4th degree burns as Curly did, what kills you is dehydration. So
You want me to get into my medical shit?
yeah, Andrew's getting his notes. Yeah, so burns can kill you by infection and loss of fluids. So that's potentially like something that's happening, but also something that could be happening is Anya could very much be reusing his bandages. She could be like undressing his wounds, washing them by hand, like washing the bandages by hand, because at this
Mouthwashing?
point, title drop.
Hopefully not.
Yeah,
Actually, no. She
yeah.
said specifically, it's too sweet for that.
Yeah, the sugar content in the mouthwash kind of
Doesn't even
No.
allow it to
renders
be good mouthwash.
renders it useless to be disinfected.
Yeah. So she's very likely hand washing the bandages, because at this point they're starting to run out of supplies. They're down to using like what's essentially Tylenol for painkillers. But the fact that she's been able to keep this man alive for like 5 months after the crash is a fucking medical miracle.
Yeah.
And like, again, Jimmy is just like, oh, like, she's so fucking stupid. Like, he makes a comment a little bit earlier in the game too, about like, God, like, what is it?
How she didn't get into medical school.
Yeah, like, she hasn't like finished medical school, and he's like, oh, like, you're fucking dumb. Like, what do you have to do after this? Let me try and find the exact line that he says. Wait. Anya never got into medical school because she's, well, let's be real. Yeah, so he's like, yeah, so she's a fucking idiot, so of course she can't. When, very ironic, Jimmy's the biggest fucking idiot on this ship. Anya very explicitly says at some point, the sugar content in this mouthwashing, like, it cannot be used for a disinfectant. And what does he fucking do? He uses the mouthwash for a disinfectant when Daisuke gets injured, and he just makes his situation far, far worse.
She's background noise to him.
Yeah, just in one ear and out the fucking other. Anytime Anya says anything, he's either like demeaning her or he's just not fucking listening.
Yeah, I mean, he hears her just enough for him to say a snide remark, and then that's it.
Move on.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Z?
Something really interesting about Anya is I feel like there's there's so much media that like really tries to like dig into misogyny, but something that really beautifully portrays it with Anya is how she doesn't care about power. She's not trying to flex. She lets Jimmy say whatever he's gonna say. She's just doing her job, which is what she's supposed to do. She's just keeping Curly alive. That's what her priority is, while everyone else is in this weird posturing game that does not matter. She's doing the only thing right now that does matter, because it's not like people are like, we're trying to get out of here. Yeah. Everyone has basically just decided we're gonna die, that's it, and given up in their respective ways, but Anya. And there's no point where I think a lot of criticism people will have for like quote unquote girl power movies is there's always this moment where the woman steps up and says, all right, boys, sit down and let me show you how it's really done. She doesn't, she's a
job.
Yeah.
She's actually just doing the work, and she's like,
man, and then she like takes off the helmet and Lord of the Rings,
which all more power to those moments, but like Anya's like what real women do all the time, which is just do what they have to do.
Yeah. Do the real work.
Like I said at the beginning, Anya's the only person on the fucking ship who's actually taking responsibility, and she's doing a good job of it. So now that I've gathered my thoughts, Anya is a medical professional. We don't know what level of schooling she's actually completed because we don't get that information. We know she hasn't gotten into medical school per se.
Which very difficult to get into, so I don't fault her.
That doesn't remotely tell us whether or not she's competent at this job, because she's not required to be a doctor.
Well, so here's the thing: there's a lot of levels to fucking medicine,
to practicing
right?
medicine.
Yeah.
So our assumption is that she's trying to get an MD, be a doctor. So she could be anywhere from an EMT to a paramedic to a nurse to a physician's assistant, what the fuck ever. We don't know.
To just having standard first aid.
The fact that she's like officially hired on and that she's called a nurse leads me to believe that she's like a CNA or something. So people don't survive the injuries that Curly has. He has third-degree burns over pretty much 100% of his body, and so this is gonna get real morbid for a second. We have every emergency service department has triage codes. We have a bundle of tags in our medical bag, and it goes green, yellow, red, and black. Green is they're walking wounded, they can fucking wait. Yellow is, hey, these people need to be transported, but they're not so unstable that they need to go right now. Red is these people are unstable, they need to be transported immediately. Black is they're either already dead or they're so wounded that we need to write them off because this is a mass casualty scenario. People with more than I think it's 40, I'll be corrected in the comments if I'm wrong. With over a certain amount of body percentage of third degree burns, which is less than Curly has, that's a black tag. You're already dead. It doesn't matter if you're alive at that moment.
I mean, he's absolutely a black tag.
It's a black tag. Add on to that, he's a fucking quadruple amputee. We don't know exactly what happened to his limbs. My assumption is either, severed by shrapnel, which that's not a fucking clean wound, or crush injuries and they had to be amputated, again not a clean wound. So Anya,
or infection, and it had to be,
or infection. So Anya is dealing with a dude who has third degree burns over at least 90% of his fucking body. You don't survive that. You die of infection or of fluid loss because you leak basically blood plasma. You die of hypovolemia or hypothermia because your body temperature is regulated in large part by your skin. If you have a great deal of missing skin, you just fucking fall into hypothermia. It doesn't really matter how warm the room is because you just can't hold on to heat. Then, quadruple amputee, there's major blood vessels in your arms and legs. Obviously, your fucking femoral arteries, your brachial arteries, there's a fucking 100 more. The fact that Curly didn't die almost immediate is, and that she kept him alive
and
for
coherent.
6 months and coherent. We don't know how slipping in
there's
and
a
out
point
of
where
coherency.
he reacts to something.
Yeah.
So it's know what's going on around you.
Yeah, that he knows what's going on around him. The fact that she kept him alive means that she is very, very, very fucking good at her job.
About just all your medical talk did make me wonder something else. We've seen throughout their conversations, we know that there's an unreliable narrator, but we don't know, so because of that, we don't know what's actually going on. We just have Jimmy's skewed assessment of what's happening. There are several moments where Anya talks about, there's two moments really where she talks about not giving him his medication and not treating him. And now that we've talked about this, part of me is wondering if she's trying to discuss, is it even ethical to keep Curly on at this point?
That's absolutely gotta be this dilemma that Anya is facing every fucking day that she has to treat Curly. There's no way that you can look at somebody in the state that Curly is in and be yeah, it's the right thing to do to keep him alive. But there's a moment in time where they all mention, they're we all agreed to keep him alive. But as the months pass and the medical supplies dwindle and his pain increases, and she becomes more and more uncomfortable with having to treat him, that's got to be a fucking nightmare to deal with.
There's three things that go into that, and the last one is something that Karina brought up to me, which I hadn't actually thought about. The first one is, of course, is it ethical to keep Curly alive and suffering as he is? He's never, we don't know what medical technology is like in this world, who the fuck knows, but the way they talk about him, I'm thinking it's not giving him a normal life. This motherfucker has been suffering for 6 months. We're not going to get out of this. Why keep him alive? 2, Anya, being a medical professional, being in triage mode, this is going to sound callous, Curly's a waste of resources.
Yeah.
That's as horrific as that sounds. He's a waste of food, water, and medical supplies. He can't do anything. He can't contribute to the survival of the crew. And obviously, that's a very dark and very, in some ways, we're all, humanity is based around taking care of each other even when we can't contribute to the tribe or what the fuck ever. I think it'd be different if Curly was just like paralyzed in the crash or something, but instead Curly has 90% burns, quadruple amputee, dude's never going to be able to do anything again, and he's eating up resources.
Yeah, unfortunately his quality of life is never going to be high enough that coming, like, even unless like the technology is so different in the future, like maybe there's some kind of magic thing that they can stick on him and he'll just feel better if they got back to base.
Just put a couple stim packs in him, he'll be fine.
Yeah, like if unless they have stim packs, I don't see a way that he can like come back from this. So, it's noble to try to preserve someone when you think that would be I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's just noble to try to preserve life, but it's like, on some level, this is not a life.
Yeah. What was the third thing that I apparently said? Because I have no recollection of this.
The third thing is that Anya is essentially having to force the painkillers down Curly's throat, and being
we've kind of been dancing around it. What's happened. Full disclosure, Anya is a survivor of sexual assault perpetrated by Jimmy. That is like a major that's the motivation for why Jimmy crashed the fucking ship, because he raped her. Maybe once, maybe on multiple occasions, we don't know, but he has been sexually assaulting her. As a result, she has become pregnant. She told Jimmy. She told Curly he did fucking nothing. She's like, well, I need to tell Jimmy what the fuck he did. And Jimmy, being a fucking coward, being a fucking bitch loser, is like, I don't want to have to face the consequences of my own actions. And he crashes the fucking ship.
If I could also add, as like either a fourth thing or a 1A thing, keeping Curly alive and treating him does also function to protect Anya in, at least she has something to do away from Jimmy.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the medical door, this is pointed out, why does the medical door have a lock and not the bedrooms? This is the only safe space for her, is in the medical room. Sorry, Andrew, you were continuing your point. Sorry about that.
Well, no, because Karina brought this up, is that she says at one point he doesn't want to take his pills. And so she's having to force them down his throat. And I don't think that Anya is uncomfortable administering his painkillers because she's just squeamish. She treated the motherfucker as a quadruple amputee with 90%, third degree burns. She's obviously not squeamish about fucking blood, shit, pus, whatever. It's the act of forcing that on him. And I think that, since she has been, violated in such a way, violating anyone else's autonomy in any way that is even, could be remotely equated to that, is extremely distasteful to her. And so she's like, yeah, I don't want to fucking do this.
And then another thing too with Anya that I noticed right away, how she interacts with Jimmy on several occasions. There's a point in the beginning where she's talking to him one-on-one. And as an aside, any time that Anya has to interact with Jimmy, she's interacting with her abuser. She has to she has to play nice, and she has to pretend like nothing is fucking wrong when there's again she's interacting with her abuser. He knows what happened, she knows what happened, nobody else does. So for the sake of everybody else, she is not telling anybody, she's not disclosing, and she's keeping quiet. And as somebody who's been in that situation where I had to interact with my abuser on the regular and pretend like nothing was happening, that is so psychologically damaging. There's a bit where she's like, oh, like you're so capable, you're so smart. It's a fawning response.
Right.
For those unfamiliar.
I was gonna say fight, flight, freeze, and fawn.
Yeah.
Like
so
before, yeah.
So those unfamiliar, instead, fight or flight, we all know that. Freeze, most people know that. Fawn is, you see this a lot with women who are in like abusive situations, is I really don't want to say go along with it. I really don't want to say that. But
did you hear that the like I had recently heard, maybe this is misinformation, that Stockholm syndrome?
I was going to bring this up later.
It was named after like, I guess, and you can correct me if I'm misunderstood, but like there was the real world situation, bank robbers are there with guns, and some of the female captives were like, hey, please don't shoot us, because
please don't fucking shoot us.
Just don't shoot us, and tried to fawn in some way, and somebody went like, wow, they fell in love with their captors.
And I saw somebody, I really should remember who she was. She's somebody in academia, in talking about that. She said, and I'm gonna remember this forever, women are very good at assessing their own need to risk manage. Very often when we're put in dangerous situations, we are like, okay, how do I protect myself in this instance? What can I do to make sure that things don't escalate? And we'll like go along with what's happening, like, yeah, sure, like, yeah, anything you want, like, yes, just don't take this any further. And that's what Anya is doing every fucking time she interacts with Jimmy.
You said women are good at assessing the risk. I think a lot of times men are not even encouraged to diminish the risks that we're taking. We're not encouraged to try to de-escalate. Instead, we're encouraged to try to play tough.
Yeah,
and
which
try
is
to be
what
like, well,
every fucking dude on this crew does.
Yeah, when a problem occurs and, a woman is in need, it's my job to push her out of the way and handle it myself. And it's like, what the fuck is all that? That's like, I think generally that's a very unhelpful, impulse that a lot of men feel. Now, I think someone somewhere is going to be mad that I said it's something we're encouraged to do or whatever. But if you feel like men don't do that, then we can talk about that, I guess.
No, I mean, you look at...
I think men do that quite a lot.
You look at male-dominated fields, and a lot of them are very risky, but it is sort of a... I don't want to say lack of self-preservation, but a willingness to take unnecessary risk. Like I could get a different fucking job,
like,
but I'm not going to.
Like you said, women are good at self-assessing the risk, and that's a totally different goal than the way men are sort of socialized to even address problems. We're told to sort of attack them head on, and Jimmy's form of misogyny is obviously just predatory. He's just a predator, but he's also totally I don't know. He's just beholden to this idea of I can fix it, which doesn't involve actually resolving the problems and only involves soothing his ego, again, his sense of self about the whole thing. Like, I can fix my life in this whole situation. It's like, what the fuck? Like, that's not what we want. That's not what we need.
Yeah, this is not about you, Jimmy. So Anya in this situation, she's already seen like what a fucking monster that Jimmy is, but she's also seen how fucking unstable he is. And so she's like, I'm not going to make this situation any worse than it is. I'm going to jeopardize my own mental health and well-being and just play along with whatever the fuck is going on. because if we can keep Jimmy like at baseline normal okay, there's a possibility that we'll make it out of this fine. And you know, unfortunately that did not happen. And I think leading into the, you know, the last time we see Anya, with, you know, she's locked herself in the medical room, and she's, you know, she's taken her own life.
I was thinking about, you know, the first time we meet Anya, we see her ID in the locker, but also the first time we really interact with her, it's when she's with Curly and they're talking about the psyche valve. She's bringing up a legitimate issue, which is that Jimmy does not take the psyche valve seriously, and he starts making up crazy stuff, and he's not letting me do my job. So instead of talking to Jimmy and being like, look, man, we all gotta do this thing, don't give her a hard time, or, you know, not that he needs to solve her problem, but like, because she really ultimately was fine with it, she was just venting like, it's really frustrating that he doesn't take this
and Curly's
seriously
like, oh well, I'll just do it for you. And then in doing so, he kind of like flubs it a little bit. He's like, I'll just put good down for that. So we miss significant red flags at that point, where Anya could, at this point too, it's like 7 days before the crash, so she already knows like he's been hurting her at this point, so she already knows. I think also too, in talking to Curly about, like, oh, like, you know, he doesn't really take a psych eval all that seriously, I think this was also a chance for her to talk to him about like, yeah, like, he doesn't really take this seriously, it's making me uncomfortable. You know, being around him alone kind of makes me uncomfortable. There's something I need to tell you. I feel like it was gonna lead up to another one of those conversations, and Curly's just like, oh, well, I'll just do it for you. Like, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And it goes.
And then to that.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then, you know, later on when we see that she wanted to take the gun, or to potentially just keep herself safe in some way, really. Curly's like, oh, you crazy girl, you...
Just because we lost our jobs doesn't mean you have to hurt yourself. And it's like, hey, Jimmy, she's been fucking raped. Have you noticed that, Curly? Have you noticed that one of your crew members has been fucking sexually assaulting somebody else, and you think losing her job is the worst thing that's happened here? You're fucking stupid, Curly.
It's also definitely saying something about women that you know, we don't know what she told Swansea, but every time we see her trying to tell her captain what's going on, she's laying it in the most gentlest of terms. Like, why do you think they locked the medical thing and not the sleeping quarters? Why, like, he's, you know, I wish he would take this seriously. She's like really like holding Curly's hand along, and he just leaves her to fry every time.
This is, again, I don't think that works to, like, she's trying to be very gentle in her approach, but like, he's just like a lot of men, he's just not listening. He hears her, but he's not actually listening to what she's saying. He's not listening for the underlying point. He's just listening to it like it's bits of information that he can add to his little journal of like quest log information. Like, oh, she told me there's a lock on the medical door and there's not a lock on the bedroom.
Yeah, oh, that's so interesting.
And it goes back to the psych eval. Like one of the first things we said about Curly is that his main thing is keeping the peace, keeping it quiet.
Yeah, he's enabling.
Is that it's, again, a failure because he doesn't want confrontation. Because the right thing as a leader to do would have been to go talk to Jimmy, hey, you need to take the psych eval seriously. You need to take our medical officer seriously. You know, you can't half-ass this shit. So, or maybe like, I'm gonna fucking sit in with you while Anya takes your psych eval, to ensure that you do take this fucking seriously. But instead, he goes, oh, don't worry about it. I'll smooth it over. I'll fix it.
Yeah,
Don't
he's
worry
my
about
friend.
it.
I got this.
yeah, I'll take care of it in the least obtrusive way possible that causes the least amount of potential conflict. Because that's what I'm worried about, is conflict. Not things getting done properly, it's things being smooth.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm not even sure Curly should sit in on the psyche valve. I think what she
I
should
don't
do
think
is,
that would have been a good
right,
idea.
but I mean, like, I think if she had tried the psyche valve with Jimmy, he gives her a bunch of bullshit answers. Then she goes to Curly and says, "Hey, look, I don't know or care whether or not he takes this seriously. I'm handing you the psyche valve, and it says he's a crazy person. He's absolutely fucking nuts.
Unfit for duty.
He's unfit for duty." And then Curly would probably still not do fucking anything.
Yeah.
Because he would just go, "Jimmy, you gotta take the psyche valve
on,
over
Jimmy.
and over until you get a good score." Like, you know, like he's just enabling Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, what was I gonna say before? Oh, okay. So, going back to the last time we see Anya, I've talked to Andrew about this a couple of times, and I don't know if we've come to like a clear conclusion on it. And I kind of had like a little bit of an epiphany earlier, when I said like the medical room is the only safe space for Anya because it's the only like room with a lock. So, you know, last time we see her, she's locked herself in the medical room. We see a little bit later that the compartment under Curly's bed is where she has been hiding the gun. It's open, but the actual casing for the gun is still locked up. So that leads me to believe that she initially planned to... we're gonna talk about suicide, so if you want to skip a couple minutes ahead, please do that. I think that's the method that she was initially going for, but instead it's like, oh, it's locked, I can't use this. And the only thing she kind of had left at her disposal was the painkillers that she had been given.
Fucking Tylenol.
Yeah, like, oh fuck, it's fucking terrible. The reasoning behind why Anya picked that particular spot to do it, like why she did it in front of Curly, what do we think about that?
I feel like on some level Curly's presence for her in that state, I feel like this is my room, you can be in here or not, like you don't have a choice in this. But then also I do feel like thematically, artistically, there is like, this is what you've done to me. You could have stopped this well before you brought us into this. I don't think she's aware that he let Jimmy crash the ship, but you know, ultimately this is his fault, and someone can actually listen to her for once in this moment.
So I agree. There's an aspect of Curly's been the person she's been spending the vast majority of her time around. I think, because this is a very, very common thing in people who commit suicide, or people in their last moments don't want to be alone. And I think because we see in the early, like, for all of the ways Curly failed her horrifically, I think there was, like, at the very least at one point they were friends.
Yeah, there never seemed to be malicious intent on his part.
Yeah, I think they did
Mm-hmm.
care about each other. I think they were friends, and I think that on some level, one, I think for you, it was like you said, I think it's there was the cockpit, but there was the only, other than the cockpit, the medical room was the only room that locked. It was her space. I don't know that, at least from what little we see of Anya, I don't know that there was any malice of this is your fault and I want you to watch. I don't think that was it. I think that she just didn't want to be alone.
I think that the sort of metatextual purpose, like the artist's purpose in putting her there, is sort of similar to Anya's purpose in being there herself, in that by being dead next to Curly, now that the door is open, Jimmy can now have full view of what he's done and what he's tossed aside.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care.
And he can still enact that through the player. We can walk up to the scene fully expecting there to be some kind of prompt to say something about Anya, and him say nothing.
Yeah. Like, no fucking acknowledgement of, like, the absolute
And so just like all the other... Yeah, just like all the... I mean, there's a little dialogue thing still in the room for the vent, which is noteworthy.
I can't look at his blood anymore.
I can't look at his blood.
Isn't...
There's an acknowledgement of his involvement in Daisuke's death, and there's no fucking acknowledgement. Sorry, I'm like very upset right now. There's no fucking acknowledgement of what he's done to Anya.
Yeah, so like from the perspective of, like, I feel like if I were in Anya's position, I would be thinking to myself, these are my final moments. Someone is going to find my body. It's going to be one of the three people outside the door. And if it's Swansea, he knows why this happened. If it's Daisuke, sucks for him.
He's gonna know.
If it's Jimmy, he should know why this happened. And in theory, Jimmy should be... I mean, if he was not a malformed individual, he would have enough sense to read the room, literally read the fucking room, and see that this is his fault. But instead, he's not even really concerned. I mean, I think probably the big feeling he has when he gets through the door is
fucking
sweet relief. I can still torture Curly.
Yeah. Or just like, not even like, oh, okay, I can still deal with Curly. It's like he
Curly's
walks in,
alive.
There's no acknowledgement that she's dead, and it's just, thank God that problem has taken care of itself. Thank God I don't have to deal with her anymore.
See, that would still be him acknowledging her.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's acknowledging... I don't think he's even realized that there was a problem for him, for her, any of that. All he's thinking is, he got in the room and he's like, good, she didn't kill Curly.
Yeah.
That's my job. I get to do that to Curly, because I want control. She's dead. There's no control I can have over her anymore, so pshaw, whatever. But... Curly is still alive, so I can have control over him.
Anya very, very likely could have treated Daisuke. From what we hear about, lacerations, burns, I don't know how long it was, but what Jimmy says is the bleeding won't stop. But we don't get any indication of what he's trying to do to stop it. So we don't... I don't know. That strikes me as some, like... I don't know if it's ironic or if it's just tragic, but that in that whole debacle, like... someone with Anya's level of medical knowledge could have helped Daisuke, but because of the actions of the rest of the crew and inaction of the rest of the crew and everything that happened,
their one fucking lifeline is gone.
The one lifeline gone.
And none of them, like, of course Jimmy doesn't say anything. Swansea doesn't say anything either. Because he's in the room when, like, she's dead. There's a point where, what are they looking for? They're looking for more, like isopropyl alcohol or something. And like when you go, like at that point in the game, when you go into the medical room, everything's kind of like glitched out, so you can't see her body yet. But you know, Swansea is in there, and like whether or not he said something upon realizing what happened, or if he said something to Jimmy, we don't know. But I do think it's very telling that we as the players don't see anything from Swansea. Jimmy saw Anya as an object, Curly saw her as a woman, but neither of them saw her as a person.
I think the word hate gets used in a couple different ways that I'd like to distinguish. Hate as an emotion, meaning like just elevated anger, that's like you know, you see something really bad on TV and you go, I hate that. That's like you just didn't you really didn't like it. I hate what Newt Gingrich did to American politics. Right? Like this is like an emotional state.
Like a strong dislike of something.
Right.
Yeah.
The second way that hate is used and hate is felt, I think, is it's more like a motivation. It's an underlying emotive action that you're carrying to the situation.
In that way, I think I would term it as like hate as a stronger form of spite as motive.
This is where I don't want to confuse it with the emotional feeling of spite and all that. I mean hate as just a mode of action, regardless of how you feel about it. You might be like hee hee ha ha the whole time. You might feel great and feel like I'm just being funny. But if all you do is trash on women in that way, you hate women.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
I see what
you're
enacting
saying. Hate into the world, regardless of your mood about it.
I was thinking of like hatred as a motivation for doing stuff.
Right. That's what I mean. Like it's like this underlying belief structure that creates negative outcomes for people you don't care about. That is what I think underlies all forms of misogyny. But the different types of misogyny come from like different attitudes towards that. How do you interact with that? So like there's naivete, there's that tough guy thing. In Jimmy's case, he interacts with that by being a predator. He says, bet I can do as much damage as I can because women are just objects. You know, so it's like he has this underlying motivation to devalue women. And then everything he does is just about soothing his ego and keeping his emotions in, like, not even in check, just keeping his emotions where he'd like them to be. Yeah. Which is in control.
So, a lot of responsibility. We've talked about everyone else. Jimmy thinks he wants to take responsibility, but what he really wants is control over the situation himself and others. I disagree with something Bob said earlier, where his relief is based out of a wanting to hurt Curly more. That may be it. I don't think that he's aware of that, if that is the case. I think that Jimmy, throughout this whole thing, the way he exerts his control, or his desire for control, is through a sort of, I don't know if I'm using the term savior complex correctly, and like a self-imposed sense of martyrdom. He even says that I have to do fucking everything around here, when in reality we see him do like 3 things throughout the whole game. But that's, you know, he's jealous of Curly. We see it again and again throughout the game. Curly, at least in Jimmy's view, has his life together. He has climbed the corporate ladder. Even when Pony Express goes under, Jimmy expresses contempt at the idea that Curly will be okay. He'll move on to something else and be good at it. Whereas Jimmy is very well aware of the fact that Curly had to get him this job. He was a fuck up before he got to Pony Express. He's a fuck up now, but he was in an even worse position before. It comes up a couple of times where Jimmy says to Curly, "You're standing on the edge of a cliff with your feet stuck in cement, and you just can't take the plunge." He knows that that Curly has this indecisiveness about him, and he despises Curly for it. Because Jimmy, in his view, wants to do stuff and is unable to. Because he's a fuck up, because he doesn't have the same opportunities, because this, that, and the other, however he tries to justify himself. Curly doesn't have that problem. So he sees the crash, he sees Curly's being unable to do anything. And so he sees an opportunity to be in control and to be the quote-unquote hero. I can fix this, we're gonna be okay, I can fix this. He says it over and over and over. I think less trying to convince everyone else, more trying to convince himself that he's worth something. That he's not a fuck up, that he can but I can fix this. And that drives, I think, most of his actions and why he bitches about doing stuff, but everything that he does in the game he volunteers for. I think Anya asks him to give him the pain meds once, and then the next couple of times she expresses discomfort with it but goes, "No, I can do it." And Jimmy just goes, "No, I'll fucking do it."
And then I think there's one other time that she asks him to do something. I think it was the foam by the locker. But the way that she's asking him is she's like, "Oh, I figured it out. Like I did some calculations," insinuating she's very fucking smart, despite what like Jimmy tries to perpetuate. But she's like, "I've calculated if you like hit the foam in this certain way, you'd be able to like get into the locker," and like she's saying it like it's kind of a parallel to how Jimmy is like kind of in Daisuke's ear about like, "Oh, like Swansea would be so proud of you like if you got into the like the room all by yourself," like all of that. It's like he's doing that to be like a manipulative piece of shit. But then Anya, she's like, "Oh no, like I know the type of person that Jimmy is. Let me like try and like nice him into doing something helpful, like something genuinely fucking helpful that would benefit the crew."
And I think that's when Jimmy has his crash out.
Yeah.
About, "I have to do fucking
everybody
everything."
makes me do fucking everything. You're the captain, dude. You're the fucking captain.
I think one of the things is that he recognizes that it's a good idea, and he's fucking furious that he didn't come up with it.
That Anya
that it
of all
wasn't
people.
his idea. That Anya of all people came up with.
The person that he's like, "She's a fucking idiot. She's fucking hysterical.
He has the least respect
I have no
for,
fucking
yeah.
respect for this woman."
Yeah, I think I said it the last time, and it kind of is like a, does Jimmy regard Anya as anything? But I disagree with the idea that Jimmy just kind of disregards Anya completely, because he does after she dies, but when she's alive, he displays active contempt for her. It's not just a shoving her off to the side and not listening or whatever. It is an active contempt. And I think that that may have been one of his motives.
Oh, I have
is
something to
that
say after this. I'll let Zach go,
is-
but I'll let Andrew finish his point and then Zach.
Yeah, well, just real quick, you said one of his motives. Everybody's always got multiple motives. In his case, I for sure think that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, he's just a predator. Predator's going to predate. Fuck him. But I think being a active misogynist, as you've said, like that comes from a place of just hatred. The fact that here's this woman who is a professional, who knows, who is educated, who can do things that he cannot do, infuriates him. And I think that part of it, not all of it, is, as it makes me feel fucking gross to say this, but to like put her in her place, to have power over her.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, and I think we don't know how accurate Jimmy's failure is. I assume Anya was not the first person he abused. I think whatever the trouble he got into before, I assume was probably maybe not as severe, but some sort of thing like that. We don't know what kind of fuck up he is in, but everyone else on this ship, however much this is just Jimmy getting in his own way, or it's true, everyone else is in a better position than he is.
Yes.
Anya, at bottom, good at her job, knows what she's on about. Daisuke, Nepo baby with prospects.
And pleasant to be
Swan,
around. People don't hate him.
Exactly. Curly, beloved captain, everybody likes him. Swansea, he sucks, but he's damn good at
Damn good at his job.
engineering.
Everybody respects him.
You know, so, Jimmy has, and maybe he does. He's a co-pilot. Curly said he was doing fine. We have no reason to believe that he was especially bad at anything, but he does seek this control in that way. And he's trying to prove himself in a way that no one has required him
Nobody's
to do
asking
but
to,
himself.
There's kind of two things now. One of them just going off of something that Zach said about like Jimmy's suspected fuck up and how it could potentially be about like this wasn't like Anya wasn't the first person that he assaulted. I kind of suspected that for a while, and the reason I think that is the ease in which that he just spikes a drink. Like, he's not, like, it doesn't cross his mind that, like, it's kind of fucked up that I'm doing this. Like, the ease in which he's like, yep, we're gonna give Swansea this drink, we're gonna put something in it, it's gonna make him pass out. The fact that there's no, like...
poisoning being his go-to is
like,
actually, I didn't think about that.
You make a good point.
The other grounds that I would add, just to add to that really quickly, is that twofold. Curly, one, is so quick to, like, I can get through to Jimmy, I know what's up, remember that time before, these are separate conversations, but then also, why would Jimmy blame Curly for what he did, and why would Curly on any level take that blame were it not for this is how you know what I'm like, this is on you, put me here, you know what I mean? So that's the vibe I was picking up from what happened.
I mean, I was thinking more along the lines that, like, Jimmy being totally immune to self-awareness, he is only ever thinking, how am I going to get out of trouble? And blaming it on the captain is a very easy way to get out of trouble. I mean, he's manipulating Curly into doing what he thinks would be beneficial to him to avoid difficulties.
So, again, I'm going to give a content warning what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to talk very frankly about rape and sexual assault, so please skip ahead if you don't want to hear about this. Something that Andrew said about, like, putting Anya in her place. I remember in one of the courses that I took when I was in university, there was a passage I read out of one of my textbooks, and the heading was something, it was something along the lines of rape as a tool of war. And in times of war, violence against women and sexual assault is very, very prevalent. And it's not because, like, all of the dudes doing it are, like, just sex pests. It's because women are seen as a commodity. Women are seen as a means of currency. And so when you...
And you're defeating your opponent if you're men in a struggle, then you're acquiring their goods.
And it's all tied in with this like big ball of misogyny and seeing women as property. And so when you damage the property, you damage the ego, you damage the reputation of this person, of a nation, whatever. So with Jimmy, that's what he's doing. He's not necessarily assaulting her because he's a sex pest and he is just a dog that needs to be put down, frankly, but it's because he fucking loathes Anya and everything that she represents, and it's his way of knocking her down a peg.
I think you're sort of right, but I think though that so there are lots of different motivations that apply, and I think sometimes we I think it almost makes it too complex to suggest he has this more detailed thought process about her. I'm not so convinced that he's even thinking about her that much, because the way that people use their power over others is both determined by their circumstances and their intrinsic desires or whatever. But in the case of like war, you're in more of like a group setting. So things like that, the power dynamic is different. So I feel like applying that to Jimmy in this situation isn't necessarily
it's more on like the aspect of conquest, of like there's something I have to prove to myself and to others, and by doing this
one thing I read to go like with what Karina said is one thing I've read is that rape is never about sex.
I was just gonna say that it's about power, it's about violence,
so
and it's about control.
He wants control. He wants control over the people in the crew, and among the people in the crew, he's if he were truly just a sex pest, I think he would be molesting everybody in the crew in a way. But instead, he doesn't do that. He only does it to the person he thinks he has physical control over.
Because he's a violent fucking misogynist.
Yeah, because the violence of it is... I don't know if the violence is doing something for him, or if it's just a consequence of it.
Because that's a whole thing for me, is that if he had some sort of, like, particular, like, sexual obsession with Anya, we would see it, if that makes sense. Because
he's not like talking about how beautiful she is or how sexy she is. He's not hitting on her.
He's not using sexual language and how he interacts
in private with her to assault her.
So
I think
go on, Zax.
I was just gonna say to that, I feel like there is something that like all the men sort of do in this ship is we see that Curly's the main one who deals with Anya in a way. Like we see, before the crash and everything, he's the main go-to for Anya, and he's her higher up. But I do feel on some level, even though there's no real, for all our jokes and everything, there's no actual romantic connection for anything, but I do feel like on some level Jimmy and Curly have both sort of like, well, she's the woman, and like we're the men who are like, if anyone's gonna be with her, it's gonna be one of us. And so there's that air. So I do feel like and Curly and Anya, to that end, have more quote-unquote chemistry, so I feel like it is possible that he is corrupting something that
I was just gonna bring that up. Like, do we
yeah.
think that Jimmy like completely misread the relationship that Curly and Anya had, thought that there was something more going on?
I don't think he needs to. I don't think he needs to, because if he, like, just the fact that she has an even remotely positive relationship with Curly is enough for him to be like, well, that sucks. That's not a thing I have control over.
I think
you guys are friends. Fuck you.
That's a good, because I like want to go way back, to, Curly, beloved by the crew, considered a good captain, of course. Swansea, rough guy, but knows his shit, so you have to respect it. Daisuke, kind of airheaded, but he's a good kid. He's likable. He's fun to talk to and hang out with. Even Swansea likes him, even though he doesn't treat him well. Anya, I mean, everyone else on the crew, with the kind of exception of Swansea, we see like a little bit that like maybe they're a little bit more friendly than he actually lets on. There's a whole thing, but at the very least, Curly has a good relationship with her, and Daisuke likes her. Jimmy, Curly's kind of the only one who likes Jimmy. And even then, it's more of a, I'm your handler. Like, you see it in their interactions, like, Curly's like, yeah, I'm your friend, this, that, and the other, but the way he treats Jimmy is a lot like you treat someone that you're just responsible for.
If you have a bro who's kind of whack, and he just came along... I was like, I was going to the movies with my friends.
My
and
mom's
then, like,
making me
dude
take my little brother that I don't like hanging out with.
And sorry guys, he kind of sucks, but he's here.
We can't really
I'll take
do
care of
anything
him.
about
Like, that's
it.
Curly's attitude towards Jimmy, even though Jimmy's way worse than my sucky little brother.
Yeah. So I can see that being like a mixture of things. Like he can't really stand up to Swansea. Not to power battle here. Swansea would kick his ass. But he can belittle Swansea. He treats him like an intellectual inferior. He can manipulate Daisuke. He can also manipulate Curly, as we see. And then Anya, he of course assaults her. And I think there is that. There is the fact that he has a personal distaste for Anya, and that's another motivation. And I think his jealousy of Curly also plays into it. Whether or not he misread their connection as romantic, or if he was just like, oh, you have a positive relationship with this woman that I do not have. I want to take that from you. Whichever one of those,
which is obviously
neither.
Not something you can take, but he doesn't get that.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to throw this in there. Earlier I said, we don't see. We would imagine he would be sexually assaulting other members of the crew if it was just a sex thing. I just realized Curly is captive. He has Curly captive after he's injured, and when he's in his private moments, he also goes in and tortures Curly. So there is an element of just control and sadism there.
Yeah, someone who is he views Anya as helpless against him. Probably because
once Curly is actually helpless against him, he just does stuff to him.
Probably because she's a woman, and therefore he's like, oh, she's physically weaker and can't fight back. Yeah. And then Curly, who he has this active contempt for, but doesn't do anything about it until Curly is helpless. Jimmy is a coward.
Yeah.
He like, in the most damning and literal of senses, he is a coward. He wants control. He wants to hurt others. He wants to take out the frustration he feels with others out on them, but he won't do it unless he physically feels like he can. He doesn't like he
just
doesn't
wants
like,
to get away with shit.
Yeah. He doesn't like Swansea, but he can't do anything about it until he's forced to, and even then it's not, oh, I can physically take Swansea, it's I need to have the physical overpowering of having a gun. Because I keep calling Jimmy a coward. And so Jimmy has this this complex about himself where I'm going to save Curly. I'm going to, save him, and he's going to come out of this looking like a hero. Where the last
insane.
This stupid
insane.
bitch.
But his last act, which
We all called it.
on a very, very, very surface level, if you haven't been paying attention, if you've been playing the game with your eyes closed, seems like a selfless act. He puts Curly in the cryopod instead of himself. Is really just his last and ultimate act of cowardice, because he's basically saving himself from making a difficult decision, because if he it's his last bit of not taking responsibility. Because if he wanted to go into the cryopod, he would be making an active decision to let Curly die. Or to put him down, because he still has, I don't know how many bullets left in that revolver.
I mean, there's two of them. He could just put his head up against Curly's and pull the trigger.
Sure, or that. But he's saving himself from making a decision.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of funny. That was Curly's big flaw, right? Like, Curly's inactive. So it's kind of funny, instead of getting in the pod himself and then later facing the music, instead he's taking Curly's place, and Curly is taking his place.
Yeah,
he's taking Curly's place as the inactive guy. I refuse to make a decision.
Exactly. Because if he was put in a cryopod and they were rescued, he'd have to answer for all the shit that he did.
Yep.
But instead he puts Curly in there with, like, the vague, like, maybe he'll be rescued, maybe not, and then goes and blows his own fucking brains out to escape having to deal with any of what he's just done.
Yeah.
And that is his final and ultimate act of fucking cowardice. Now, don't misread me.
I've always found like people talking about suicide as an act of cowardice to be kind of insulting.
I was about
in
to.
most situations,
I was
but
about
in this
to.
situation,
if you will,
absolutely.
Yeah, if you will allow me to clarify myself, I'm not speaking of. Because I was just about to say that. I'm not speaking of suicide in and of itself as an act of cowardice. If you're having suicidal thoughts, seek help. Believe me, brother or sister. I've fucking been there. Get some help. I'm not gonna give you any platitudes, but talk to somebody. But in this particular instance, it is specifically so that he does not have to face the consequences for what he's done.
Yeah.
Which that is what makes it an act of cowardice. You've got Jimmy, who's either your abusive father or like uncle or whatever, who is abusing a younger member of the family. Again, this isn't to like infantilize Anya. She's a grown fucking woman and a professional, but just to put this in the dynamic. Someone who is smaller and weaker than he is, because Jimmy is a coward. Again, not to diminish Anya, but it's because Jimmy is a coward, he will only abuse people he can get away with abusing. And in this family dynamic, that's generally a younger member of the family. Then you have Curly, who knows the abuse is happening, but whether from a desire to maintain the reputation of the family or to keep the family from quote unquote falling apart, I'm doing finger quotes right, you can't see, keeps quiet about it and actively covers for the abuser. Maybe thinks that they can fix it themselves. Maybe thinks, oh, well, this person will change, or they'll stop, or what have you, who themselves are both a enabler and in some ways a victim of their own sort of abuse from the abuser. I think, and feel free to disagree with me vehemently on this, I'm not sure about it myself. I do think Jimmy is abusive in a different way to Curly. But with so it's kind of like the battered spouse who is then covering for the abuser's other victims. that's kind of where Curly fits in for me. Then you have Swansea, who is kind of like the distant uncle who, doesn't find out about it until later, and then, regardless of his willingness to help, he can't. There's by the time he musters up the wherewithal to do anything, the damage is already done. And then there's Anya, who is the victimized member of the family, who she is aware that what's happening is not correct, but is not receiving support from any other member of the family. And so therefore there's no hope, there's no way out, there's no light on the horizon, there's nothing. This just continues into perpetuity. And then Daisuke, who's like the fucking little sibling who doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
He
I would...
like kind of senses something's not quite right, but because he doesn't know what's up, there's nothing he can do. That's my read.
I'm pretty much like on board with all of that. The only thing is I put Daisuke and Swansea as like both in more of like a sibling role in my dynamics for this, because what got me thinking about this more cohesively was when we were talking, I was like, oh, I'm like kind of crying right now over Anya.
Yeah.
We all took a second. You were feeling really angry. And when I think of Swansea, I think about how when you are aware that someone you care about is being hurt, and you can have this like paralyzing rage, and that becomes this powerlessness to the situation. And that's the reading I had kind of Swansea, where he's holding on to that axe, but is he gonna swing what? Like
that's
he can't
really
do
good.
anything.
That paralyzing rage is exactly it.
That's way better than my read. Yeah, 100%. I like that. I don't like that at all, but I agree.
I love it.
I think it's great.
Amazing.
I don't like it. I love it. But, so that's and I think there is something too where, we've spoken to this in like their responsibility and their power and their relationship with it in general. For Jimmy just said, I'm the captain now, I guess, from what we've gathered from our reading, you listening might have your own encouraged interpretations, but it seems like he's like only started before Daisuke is the only for sure thing we know about him, and everyone else just kind of like, we're just gonna go along with what he said, because however we interpret it, we know that Jimmy's the loose he's gonna be a problem if he's not captain, so we're just gonna let him be captain.
I mean, okay, you're the captain of what? Like, we're all here on this thing. I'm not letting you into this room, and you're not gonna do shit about that. And you're not the medical anything, so you're not shit about that. So
what the fuck are you gonna do?
And then Swan, and then
captain.
And then Daisuke is my responsibility, so you ain't gonna do shit about that neither.
No, it's true.
Even when Jimmy
like
forces his way into power and privilege, he still has none. And that's the irony of the whole thing.
But it's because he just wants to feel like he's in control.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this more, and I'm thinking about the tasks that they have Jimmy do.
Jimmy, can you go get the isopropyl alcohol?
Yeah,
I know you can do it.
Can you go get this? Can you read this code and open this? Like, Anya's treating their one wounded crew member. Swansea's
doing the work.
Doing the work. Swansea is, doing something. Maintenance stuff. Like, really,
some more work, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing work.
Daisuke's trying to be useful.
Daisuke, even Daisuke. Daisuke is, he says it, keeping track of their supplies, their rations, everything. mentions
That's pretty useful.
mentions how much toilet paper they have left. Everyone is doing something that's actually pretty vital to the crew, except Jimmy, who is doing little bits of busy work that make him feel important.
And even then, he's like, God, you people ask so much of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the narcissistic.
I mean, it gives Trump. It gives Trump.
What do you guys want me to do?
I don't know why that just like crashed in on me, where I was like, oh shit, like Jimmy doesn't actually, no one actually is giving Jimmy anything to do. I don't know why I just realized that.
Yeah.
Makes you think. Gotta talk about the horse baby.
I wanted to get to the horse. I specifically just wanted to say that I think just the fact that so like have you guys watched Squid Games?
Yeah, I don't know.
At the end of Squid Game season 3, do you guys care about spoilers?
Not really.
Okay. So for people who do care about spoilers,
Cover your ears.
sorry, go watch the show. Just skip about 30 seconds. I'm about to spoil the very end. The main dude, Namgyu, not Namgyu, the main dude in Squid Games, he's there, and he says to the people running the Squid Games, humans are not horses. Humans are, and then he pauses. He doesn't have quote unquote complete the thought, and he falls back and lets himself die. He falls into a pit and dies. And that's because throughout the series they're comparing humans to horses, and they're saying they're just working people like horses in that. And so Mouthwashing is doing literally the same metaphor. Humans being worked like horses by the capitalist system. That's why the capitalist mascot is a horse. And so the idea that we're all being worked by the capitalist system, and then an abortion, a baby, a fetus in the womb is just another worker waiting to happen. Psych, the abortion got rid of that worker. Was the thing that immediately jumped out at me when they were doing the scene with the horse
sonogram.
Fetus in the thing. Yeah, the sonogram. I immediately started thinking about Squid Games. Tell me about the horses.
This is right back into this horrific shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, clearly it's not anatomically correct, otherwise there would be more of a person attached. But it's really disturbing.
It's interesting that you say there would be more of a person attached.
This is Jimmy we're talking about. This is
Jimmy, and I think that is how he doesn't see Anya. He just sees, oh, I got her pregnant. That's going to be a problem for me.
Well, the thing too is the fetus in this anytime we're interacting with it, there's the imagery of horses is very interesting throughout the game. Anytime that Jimmy's hallucinating or haunted by something, it's a horse. And then the second to last interaction we have with this horse imagery is the with the sonogram and with the womb, we'll call it, and you see it's a horse in there. So in the same way that he's not it's not even taking up space in his mind that I've sexually assaulted Anya and I've gotten her pregnant. He's not seeing the the pregnancy as
he's not seeing a person.
He's not seeing a person, absolutely. And just as a disclaimer, this is not a pro-life argument that I'm trying to make. I'm not what I'm fucking trying to say. But he's not seeing this as I've
a potential person, what have you. Again, I'm also not taking a pro-life stance, but it's an active
I think Jimmy gives me good reason to have an anti-life stance.
You should kill him.
But what I'm saying is it's a very actively choosing not to see this as this is to save my kid. It's just another fucking problem.
This isn't my responsibility.
Yeah.
A quick question to inform my next thought. When she takes her, when Anya takes her life, is that when she also is terminating the pregnancy, or did she do that separately?
Have some thoughts on this.
Wow.
Anya probably miscarried a while ago.
Yeah.
They are on rations. They're all malnourished.
And under high stress.
So just that alone. Like she...
Not conducive to a
healthy pregnancy. There was no chance that she could have carried that child to term. And then there's that whole bit. Well, then, I don't know when this happens. There's this whole bit about her kind of agonizing over whether or not drinking the mouthwash will make it better. I don't know if that was in regards to her pregnancy or if, because it was like, how many months?
8 months.
8 months. She'd have been showing long before.
Okay.
Even under that bulky ass jumpsuit. So I'm of the opinion that she miscarried a while ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. The reason I ask is either way, we're talking about an assault, so he violated her regardless.
Yeah.
But in his disregard for his own actions, pro-life or not, at bottom she had health problems to deal with because of his actions. Which is why because I'm just thinking, like, people will, like, sneeze near you, and if you get sick, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you caught it from me. So it's just like in little things, how people can take accountability. Jimmy cannot admit his agency in his actions ever in any way, big or small.
One thing I talked to Andrew about on our second playthrough of this was, with that, I don't want calling it a puzzle. It feels wrong, but
kind of a puzzle.
Yeah, but like in the puzzle where you have the sonogram. In every other little puzzle that you've done, it has some connection to Jimmy's real world action. So like, oh, I need to go get this. I'm having this crazy hallucination that there's this horse ghost chasing me, but then I find what I'm looking for at the end.
You do end up there.
You do end up there. So to my horror, I think about that puzzle and I think, what the fuck was he doing?
What was he doing?
Well, I had...
Oh, is the implication like he was like going through Anya's body?
So does that mean does that imply that there were twins?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Because the scene just now.
Oh, yeah.
On screen. Not one, but two horse fetuses. Three?
I have no idea.
I think there were only two.
Yeah, however many there are. That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he says, I hope this hurts. And then they do...
Yeah. Well, again, like, I don't necessarily think that it's, like, implying that, like, she was carrying twins. Because when Polly, like, talks to him, like, as the fetus, it's just Polly singular. So...
It kind of clashes also with the idea that she probably would have miscarried a lot earlier in the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Something else with the horse metaphor throughout this, we talked about it before with, like, capitalism. We talked about family dynamics earlier. I think this is also, like, a pretty textbook example about how abuse can be perpetuated in the workplace, because I don't know what everyone's personal interactions with HR has been in their life, but there is
Wonderful.
But there is, I mean, I can't think of a job where someone hasn't said during some professional setting, remember, we've got a CYA, just cover your ass, and it's just make sure that legally nothing can touch us.
Yeah.
And that's all we care about. And so Curly is doing his job and keeping things as kosher as he can so that nothing goes wrong and no one has any problems.
Yeah.
But that's not how humans help humans. That's how companies
Yeah.
help themselves.
Workhorses.
And, you know,
Yeah. Well, yeah. The fucking horseshoe. Lucky girl.
Yeah. Oh god, no, not
Oh
that again.
god, I don't want to think about that shit.
A Colgate ad.
Oh, fuck, crazy.
Lucky boy.
Is there anything...
So fucking
It's
weird.
so fucking weird. Is there anything we haven't touched on that we wanted to talk about?
I feel like everything I wanted to say was said.
yeah. On some level, I feel like I could keep talking about this forever.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, we might just be
Yeah.
going in circles
Yeah.
at that point.
At some point, it's gonna circle back to I fucking hate Jimmy.
I hate Jim.
Yeah, that's the moral of the story. This was ultimately play this video game and try not to hate Jimmy challenge, and no one's
Yeah.
ever
Never
succeeded.
succeed. Or if anyone has, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good not knowing them.
We get hundreds of comments. You know,
You
actually, Jimmy was like kind of doing
you-
the
okay.
best he could.
I wanted to
I
s-
don't
okay.
know what I would do if I was steering the ship.
So, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring this up, but I googled mouthwashing writer, and this, I don't know what to make of this. A Twitter post, and it's like, first it's a quotes from an article about the interview with the mouthwashing dev, and they said, this article and convo with one of the mouthwashing devs. Oh my god. Oh my god. That doesn't tell me their opinion on it. I have no fucking idea. Somebody quote tweets them and says, obsessed with this interview with the mouthwashing writer. Confirms a lot about the purpose of the game, especially with the uncomfortable empathy with an unreliable narrator and an enabler, but also shed some light on that line and who said it. This is fucking art. I have no idea what people think. What is this? What do the people think about this game?
Yeah, this sounds like weirdly AI generated
Yeah, that
responses.
sounds like
Right? I don't have a
strange.
fucking clue what they're talking about. Like, I mean, you can, maybe I'm missing something. And I read the article bits, and it was like quotes from them talking about, like, we all know a Jimmy. This is what G said, the writer. Kasurinen, I'm sure I'm saying that name wrong, said she sees many people talk about how, quote, we all know a Jimmy, and while she agrees with the sentiment, quote, the more interesting but challenging question is, can you see any of yourself in him? For myself, it's definitely true, she continued, adding that of course she hasn't done anything close to what Jimmy does, but I can certainly get pathetically jealous, I can get insecure and self-pitying to a vicious degree. I don't think there's anything weird about the writer of the story
saying that.
saying any of this shit. This is completely normal.
Also, just an
Yeah.
aside, I knew a woman had to work on this. I know a woman had to
Yeah.
add like
Yeah.
a mwah.
Yeah, for sure.
I love women in horror. I hope
Yeah.
I see more from these creators because this is fucking excellent. Oh, I guess one last thing. I guess we can just discuss. We said it kind of briefly like before we started. But I think the last thing to kind of end off with is this very brief interaction that Anya and Jimmy have. Anya says, "Why do you think he did it?" And then Jimmy's response is, "Does it matter?" And I think that's something interesting to ponder.
Oh shit, yeah, because Jimmy's the one who fucking
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
Oh my
He
god.
doesn't even
Something.
try to.
Fuck.
He doesn't even try to say bullshit.
Something else too. So Anya spent the rest of her life caring for Curly, and she did it under the assumption that he crashed the fucking ship. And she still gave him all of her care and her attention and her sympathy and her competency
because
he needed it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy is such a piece of shit that if he had just not done anything at all, if he had just stood there like a mannequin, he would have been a better person and would have reaped more benefits from those around him if he had just shut the fuck up and stood still.
I think that is like the subtext of this is, why did you do it? Does it matter?
Yeah. He doesn't even. Yeah. He doesn't even fully understand why he does anything. So. Yeah.
What a joyful point to end on.
Yeah.
Oh, my cat's here.
Mouthwashing. Oh, something wholesome and sweet.
Here, I'll post. We'll end on a wholesome and sweet Colgate.
Oh god. Oh
God,
wait, hold on.
this.
Andrew, do you have the mouthwashing good ending picture you sent me
No.
that one time? Fuck, I gotta I gotta go through our fucking archives to find it. Has image.
God damn it.
I'm pretty sure one of us sent it.
See, Swansea should have done this to Jimmy. Swansea should have done this to Jimmy.
I saw this in a toothpaste commercial.
I saw this on a mouthwash
Back
ad
in my
once.
day.
Alright, well that's all we've got.
Next, we're doing a retrospective of the Halo series.
Oh no.
Yay!
Yay.
I get to talk about my theory that the original Halo trilogy is the retellings of soldiers, and it's deifying the Master Chief over time.
So, we all clearly had a lot to say about mouthwashing, but I enjoyed this discussion with all of you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.